Hello there. Here at the CCA, we are streaming here for Booyah Bowl All-Stars. I'm Cygnus, and joining me is...
Absolutely no one. Perfect. Hi there. I am
Yay!
Hello there. I am Cyan.
I'm Omazen.
Alright. Oh. I'm Kira, the one with no E.
And I'm Cygnus again.
Dude, there's two of you?
I don't know.
Oh. Welcome to CCA Couch Commentary for Booyah Bowl All-Stars. We have the staff call on the mic. It's gonna be a hell of a ride.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We have Octos and Squids United Scarlet against Comet Blasters here in round one. This is a play all three, and we are starting off here on Sturgeon Shipyard in tower control for a classic map mode combination here in game one, as fitting for this event.
Okay, Cool's coming out quickly, which is good. As expected, some of these really good teams.
Good pick
The
up
Halo
the
2.
there, not allowing it to push up.
The Comet Blasters are going down early, and we're already seeing ONSU starting to push.
No, it's a splashdown!
Trying to catch the blaster out. Can't do that.
Oh my god, unfortunate.
Splashdown. 10 missiles go off as ONSU retakes the tower. Twig is going to try to stop this with Kraken charging in.
Good pick on the pro there. Very good shot.
I think this is, yeah, Comet Blast is trying to pull back. I'm excited to. I'm okay. We're getting so skirmishy now. This is actually. Two down. No, we're trading out. No.
2v2.
Slider.
Alright.
Look at the thing, but will stay alive to let a jump get in, and Comet Blasters are now on the board with their points and hoping to start their push.
We start to get ahead. Oh, but April goes down. No. They're two down.
Three
They
down.
have Kraken.
Three
No,
down.
down. It's just you can't. They have a slider, but I don't think it's gonna be able to do much. Just gonna get pushed. Yeah, they went
If he
down.
goes down
Fine,
delayed
that
wipe.
little bit. That's unfortunate.
Oh, that's such a staggering wipe, and like Onsu is starting to just run at them. Like two down, they're just starting to stagger really badly.
Yeah, also I gotta say, I love how Ansu's using the new reflex here as well.
Oh,
Yes. Oh yeah, I
really
didn't even
big
realize there was
3K
two
there.
weapons coming out.
That might be it for this game.
Both sides with the new pro too. Actually, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, Pro I think is just like already becoming one of the best supports in the game. It's crazy.
Already a win for Onsu.
Fast game
Everything
one
quick
here.
It is a play all three, so no matter what, we're getting three
Yeah.
amazing games.
Yeah, next up will be Rainmaker on Humpback Pump Track.
Wait, hold on. There's no way. WPI already beat PSU?
Wait, what?
WPI already took a game off of PSU.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know, right? There's only 3 games that have finished so far that have been reported too.
Yeah, Drexel's beating Arcaley 1-0 too.
Wait, sorry, Big Gay plays for Onsu?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
I've seen that name so much because of Twister Time, and I just like didn't know that that was an Onsu player. Shout out Twister Time, my goats. Rainmaker, Humpback. I'm really interested to see where this is going, because both teams, we had a leader out and a pen out. And a lot of pen players that I know do not like playing that weapon on Rainmaker Humpback. So
Yeah.
2 Charger players. I'll be curious to see what the comp rotations are. If maybe
This
we'll
map is-
see some people switching off.
This map is also just like so explosive, especially on Rainmaker. With how skirmishy each team is playing, like another just like stagger or wipe like that, this could be a very interesting game.
Yeah, Ansu's playstyle, they seem to really just wait until they can pincer down everyone and then just do not let that momentum go. So I'll be curious if Ansu can break that first checkpoint early on. It might be a very short Rainmaker game if they can get that stagger out of Comet Blasters quick. But I'll be really curious to see because Comet Blasters also does have the leader from what I remember. And it's also just possible that, like, you know, some really good early game picks go out and prevent Ansu from getting it, and like maybe we get like that like taste of your own medicine going on.
Yeah. Oh, I'm also seeing Banana Split took game 1 from VCU. Okay, here we go with game 2 here. Rainmaker on Humpback Pump Track. Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, I see the Wellspring coming out.
Ooh.
And no leader, both switching off of their Charger players, giving up the range for some short range aggression, as expected.
Yeah, that new mini is one of my favorite new kits added in this game with the latest update.
Okay.
Already seeing Azuka coming out.
That's about right. What is that? 15-second Zuka?
Yeah.
We're getting Zukas at the same timing as Cooler typically comes out. What is this game become?
The missile's coming out. Good map control here.
Ooh, shutting down that crack.
It's a 3-down situation. Coming in, Inokamu takes the first checkpoint. Point with Odyssey immediately taking advantage of the 3 down.
We have
on
the
the
hammer
side
coming out too, starting to push. Oh, hammer gets shut down without a single pick.
Oh my god!
Oh, the counter wipe!
Really
Really good defense there.
They have and Cooler,
all that and
Slider.
Comet Blasters is 3 specials online, but they gotta be fast because Ansu's already back up and
Hammer.
TJ looks like going for a pretty deep flank here. Not
And they get
quite quick
checked.
enough.
9 points away from lead with Twig. Get aggressive in front with that Zuka support aiding them. They pick up the Rainmaker and take the lead, getting it all the way down to 38 before going down to Big Gay here.
2v2. Secret's still trying to skirmish, find a pick, finds it. We got jumps coming in.
No, goes down!
Oh. He can't April win the 2v1 there, but the flat bomb is well placed, but Twig was able to stay alive enough in the Kraken, but not long enough to avoid the wipeout there. Good defense by Okamu with that Wellspring, as he's now taking the Rainmaker up. And ONSU is working on their own counter push now.
So back and forth. I don't know whether I expect this push to take lead or to not. But Innie's going so deep in.
Oh wow!
Finding these picks though.
Another one?
Leo going down too.
Oh, let's go a third. Oh, but Twig keeps it
Oh my
coming
god. It's just constant back and forth.
They're forcing Big Gay
I'm
so
going
far back
crazy
right
with
now.
this brush.
Bunch of specials online for Comet Blasters here.
Ansu is so
They got plenty of time on the clock though. They can play as slow as they need to.
And they have the
Not a
Rainmaker.
big lead for Ansu. Anything can happen still.
Spider. No, it goes down.
April's able to get the text, and only a matter of time before another Zuka is available, you gotta think, with how fast this weapon can get
Saves
that.
Julius from that hammer. Great team right
Oh, the splashdown just denies that.
These Tetras are just like tearing it up. They gotta. There we go.
I'm cursing so hard right now. Every single time we start acknowledging something.
Comet Blasters is not giving up. They might be able to flip lead here. Ooh, a little hasty there.
Great pressure from the Wellspring, doing what it does best in 9 area.
Does it get pumps in? Nope. Really going down. Nito trying to hold the space. Oh, actually,
Ooh, Nito finds the pick on the range.
It
It is a bucket map.
has
Finds
Cooler
two.
ready. Oh my god.
Meteor's just dodging everything here.
They're just running, getting
Yeah,
as many
pushing the
picks
well
as
string
he
back.
can. He's going ham.
Ooh, we're going the other way.
Going left. We have
You don't see
Kraken.
that often.
We're gonna push with the
Good
Kraken.
play. While Meteor was checking them on the other side to go in.
Finds the pick
Ow.
and dodges the splash down with that
Just
Kraken.
jump in too.
Rainmaker's in such a good spot if they can keep this position.
But they don't have lead yet.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
long
they
as
don't have
they-
it. Oh.
Blasters, they don't actually have the lead yet. So if anything, this is a really good position for Ansu to be able to stall it out there and just not even pop it in the first place. Yeah, that's what they're
It's like
doing. They're not
we're
even
going around
figure it out.
behind Slider. Ooh, neither Hammer or Slider find anything there. Trading a lot of picks here.
He gets two and
Three down. This could be it. It's up. Yeah, that pro can't advance. Just the Kraken right there.
yeah, this might be the lead flip. It's not. It's so close.
Avery's
That jump's
just
coming in.
barely
Can they
managing to
pop this in
stay
time?
alive there.
They just need 5 points. It's
Anything
so
could happen
close.
here. Oh, they're getting
Two
collapsed.
down. No.
That
Oh,
Odyssey was able to stall that Rainmaker just enough and protect it to win game 2 here. What a game this was.
Amazing stall from Outpost and Woods United. Holy goodness.
Yeah. In other news around the Booyah Bowl, PSU Blue and WPI Grisco Workers Union are currently tied 1-1. Flatlanders have taken a 1-0 lead over Death Roll. ITAP is beating Triton Splatoon 1-0, and Drexel Dragon Splatoon is beating Arc Haley 2-0 in Group A.
Over in Group B, we have UCSD going 2-0 against H-Town Rebels, with EA UCD Banana Split 2-0ing VCU Big Fat Say Cows. Just, oh man. I'm so glad with the amount of teams we have for Booyah Bowl right now. Like, I don't think half of these sets are going the way that, like, anyone who has been in the CCA would have been, like, anticipating for the past year.
Yeah, it's upset central here early on, and I'm all for it.
Like, everything's just going to show that, like, all of those older teams, a lot of alumni coming back, they still got it. They're still playing the game. They're not giving up. I left the call by accident. Oops.
Oh no!
I was mid-sentence, no! Stream just sees my icon disappear for 3 seconds.
Couch commentary moment.
Couch comes. But no, it's like, all the alumni coming back. Oh, I'm so excited for it, because it's just, no one is safe. No one is safe from the reign of the CCA founders.
Just such a fun way to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the CCA here.
It's so wonderful. And unfortunately, I do have to yell at the people that we are literally streaming right now to report their scores in Battlefy. Landwoods on Barnacle and I've forgotten what this map is called because my game is failed.
It is?
My game is, yeah. But
Oh, cool.
we're bringing back the pencil on one side, but not the leader on the other.
Very interesting. The Reflex Milk is also coming back for...
There's no way
I thought
that
that weapon was called the Milk.
there's no way
It
it's
is!
what?
It is!
Why?
Yeah, it's called the milk flux.
What?
Oh my god.
They got a milk flux on there.
That's not real.
Yes, it is.
That's what it's called.
I'm looking this up. I don't.
It's like how the dualies are like the Twinkies or whatever.
That's okay.
Oh my god. Twinkles.
I'm going to Wikipedia right now. I don't believe you.
It's the truth.
Finds the pick on the milk.
Reflex 450 milk.
That's what it's called!
That's what it's called.
Someone at localization had too much fun, and we get to fight with it today. Lord, I'm sorry, I just looked back at the state of the game. It's on a fully separate monitor. Anzu is so backed up. They're just like... Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, 2-2?
He was having to...
Ooh.
Wig will pick him down and get the Kraken up.
Delayed wipe here.
Yeah,
They don't. Oh, they just barely have any clams though. They just gotta hold this position
Yeah, they
for as long
didn't.
as they can.
yeah, they were in good position for push. They just didn't have the clan economy set up for it yet. As we're seeing
Clam
big
economy
gathering
is
now.
in shambles.
Trying to make it.
Yeah, they have a lot of clams now and get a ball made, but they just don't have that position anymore.
You're only allowed one or the other.
Get one. Twig. They pick.
Anzu
It's a
is
3v2
really bunched up
in
right now.
Comic Blaster's favor. Another one goes
2v2.
down.
Big Gay push back, taking a lot of damage here. All right, finds the pick,
Twig
pops
picks down the
Kraken,
milk.
Not quite more finish.
trying to guard that ball so they can score. All right, Comet Blasters takes the first score of the game. Will they be able to follow this up though?
It does not look
Doesn't
like
look
it.
like
as
it.
Hunter just pushes forward. They do have a shark though. Is that the broad? No, it's the Tetras.
He gets still waiting there, but unable to get the pick onto TJ Buddy, who takes him down expertly.
Oh,
And-
we're trading people back. Right.
And once again, it's Comet Blasters being the ones in sole control of the clams. Here, Avery's firing off Azuka as
Azuka
Big
kinda
and
pushed
Tikan
far
are
back
both
out.
going in. Yeah, Big Gay
Right.
will go down though. So as the Comet Blasters are continuing to push up, and they score again, break the barrier
Big
past the
pick on the
60-point
pencil
mark.
Oh, but Lou just saying we might be 2 games down. That doesn't mean we're throwing in the towel. That's what it is.
But that's a wipeout now, and this is ONSU's chance to regain a lot of space. They're picking up
We're already
clams.
pushing up so fast here.
I was gonna
Right?
say it depends on how
that's
it
what you
takes
gotta
to
do
go
there.
down, but the reflux, the
Yeah.
milk, it's going ham.
Ooh, caught out by the bombs there. Just unable to back all the way up.
2 down with the Zuka coming out afterwards. We might be just seeing a massive beating move.
Comet Blasters
And you don't took a rush me,
now,
Dad.
and they're already finding the hits. In their court,
They have the ball.
ball goes in. No clams to follow it
Yes,
up with
we're
though. So,
in
ooh,
below
giving
the
Anzu
50-point
another
mark.
pity here in the last minute of the game.
A little bit risky.
Ooh, they
but
don't grab it though. They don't. Yeah,
No, they weren't able
Yeah.
to thanks to Twig's aggression.
they do still have the one ball, but
They're gonna have to
Finding
take that
picks.
a lot of map before they get them.
Yeah.
Economy and feel they handle. What is that? A push to 50 points down through?
they're pushing up slow. They found a couple good picks there, but they're gonna really have to play careful here and break through mid without losing anyone. They have no clams really besides that pity, and they haven't started moving it yet.
And then
Yeah.
2 down. They're starting to have.
The- And one other.
Ooh, a jump's gonna get caught out too. Ooh, almost. Okay.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
one
the
for one.
time's running out there for Anzu.
It doesn't matter right now though. Trades are really good for Comet Blasters here because it's like, who cares if you go down? They weren't able to push forward.
Exactly.
Flask is doing all they can to live in the pit there. Trying to move this ball up, but I don't think they're gonna have time.
No, they have to get the ball in the basket about now to be able to do it, and that they're just too far back.
Yeah.
Game right there.
Yeah.
Ochi timer is ticking down. Anzu trying one last time for the push, but are denied at the end there. And Comet Blasters get on the board with the win of Game 3 of this playoff 3.
Oh my goodness.
I'm seeing as round one's coming to a close here. PSU Blue has recovered from their game 1 loss to beat the WPI Grisco Workers Union 2-1. Flatlanders held on against Death Roll to complete the upset and win 2-1. And Drexel Dragons have beaten Arc Haley 0-3. With Tap currently beating Triton Splatoon by a score of 2-0.
There's such amazing sets happening. Like,
Yeah.
they're all so close around the board. A lot of these sets, like, even if they are going 3-0, they're still going to be really good games. And, like, a lot of 3-0s, like Drexel Dragons 3-0 Arc Haley, I don't think that was expected by anyone.
No,
I don't think so either. I feel like Drexel has always been like kind of like a sleeper like underdog team though. Like they've had a lot of just really good picks over the last few years. Yeah.
Drexel is a bit of a sleeper,
especially in the circuit.
That's not the phrase. Is
Circuit.
What's the phrase I'm looking for?
I mean, I just called them like not like a sleeper agent, but like sleeper pick. Like
Yeah.
Sleeper pick, that's the one I'm looking for. They're not a sleeper
yeah, I
agent.
feel like yeah, people sleep on them a lot.
They're lying in wait.
Like they haven't quite like found their big win yet, but they've had a lot of like really good runs in like other events or like seasons, and often get a lot of like pretty big upsets.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people may not be aware of that just because like for most people they're just like looking at the podium. But they've come close quite a few times. And they are certainly a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also speaking of upsets happening, Banana Split has beaten VCU's Big Fat Sea Cows 2-1 as well over here in Group B. And in the other match, UCSD Esports Gold has beaten H-Town Rebels 3-0. So big upset there by Banana Split.
Oh yeah, no, you're true. Banana Split 2-1 VCU.
Oh my goodness.
That's huge.
Yeah. Banana Split coming in vintage form from their Season 3 selves.
Also, you know what I just now realized? Like, let me go back and double check that I'm not, like, losing my mind. Yeah, I'm not going crazy. We haven't seen zones yet.
Oh my goodness.
This is a turn
Yeah,
that
zones-
didn't start with zones. We started with Sturgeon TC.
Yeah, Zones will be, I believe, is it starting off round 2?
Yeah, starting off round 2.
Yeah, it
zones
is, with
happening.
Hagglefish.
They just took me aback because I'm always so used to game 1 being zones in tournaments like this that we're starting with TC. Took me aback a minute. Sorry, I just see Nito's post. I wanted teams to kill each other, and I'm glad that's what we're getting.
That is
I
what
am
happens
also-
in the game.
I am also very content with the amount of teams killing each other that is happening.
For your next challenge, I need you to win your next set without a single kill.
The entire set?
Yeah.
Pure objective focus, no team fights.
You're gonna need somebody to play like the slider reflux for that. Or like maybe like
Even then, the
Silver
slider could pick up like an accidental kill here and there too.
Sorry, I love. Slider might get an accidental kill. It won't do it on purpose. It
Yeah.
just might happen.
Yeah.
If that isn't Slider in a nutshell, I do not know what is.
I think they should make the explosion even bigger. It needs
I
it.
think, I think that the 70 hitbox should just become a 100.
Yeah. No, they can make it like 99, so it's like how like K-Pro was, where it's like, oh, it's not a
Yeah.
two-shot, it's just a two-shot.
Add damage up back to the game, but it only affects reef sliders.
Reef slider up.
God,
Oh my lord.
it's like funny to think about, but like that would actually be so miserable to play against.
Real.
Hey, all I'm saying, I'm a Dread player. I'll take it.
Real. Slider's so weird because like it's not good, but I still hate playing against it. Because like I just have to accept that there's like a 50% chance that any given time one will explode within like 6 miles of me and I'll die.
See, I just don't like playing against Slider because it ends up being the thing that controls every zones game. Especially,
Yeah.
what is the map? What is that map? Hang on. There's a very specific map I'm thinking of. That's not what I want. Stages. Jump through stages. Brinewater Springs, that's the one.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you can just
Brinewater
pop it on the
Springs
ledge there.
with a slider.
Imagine if
There's
they
nothing
gave
you can do.
a big swig roller the reef slider.
I would quit.
I'm so happy that Swig doesn't have a good kit.
Okay.
I'm
Like,
so sad about that because I am such a big swig enjoyer.
That weapon is like the potential man of this game, where it's like, give that thing a good kit,
Yeah.
it's probably a monster. Thank
Real.
god it doesn't have a usable kit.
No, there's a few weapons that I'm really glad don't have like.
I
the
have fun-
quote-unquote best
I have fun
kits.
with the vacuum kit on Runwater as is, with walls and vacuum to just stall out the zone. On the Swig.
I'm still waiting for next patch when they add Glugas with like, I don't know, like fizzy inkjet or something.
I mean, Glugas pretty much already have their god kit with the base kit.
That's fair, but like fizzy inkjet on glue would be so peak. I'm mad because the Twinkies got my dream Gluga kit, which was fizzy bubble. Reluctantly, I've been playing them a bit, and they're fun, but like, I love Glugas. I love my silly little glue guns that
Yeah,
either do nothing or drop 30 kills. No in between.
I love the fizzy ink chip on ballpoint as is. I mean, ballpoint's probably my favorite weapon to play in this game, other than the bows.
Sorry, I need to go talk trash in the in a Battlefy chat because in pure irony, the only set that has gone 10 minutes over the deadline is the set between DRF and Mizuno.
Yeah, I'm watching that one on stream right now. There's currently 20 seconds left in the Barnacle Clams game. Oh yeah, DRF and Mizuno aren't even the only staff in that game too. So we have Kaiju, Astra, Magic. Now it ended.
Perfect.
Three-0 for ITAP. Mizuno gets the bragging rights.
Alrighty, we good to generate the next rounds?
I think so.
Yeah, everything's done now. Yeah.
Alright, let's push some buttons. And I goofed up on my message announcement. I'm washed.
Alright, looks like for our next round, I would say like Wiggler Ahoy, Banana Split. That's probably going to be a fun set to watch. So
I think we're going to group A on this stream, right? And I
Or
think
are
the
we
other team's going to
swapping?
get in group B now.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think we were
Oh, is that
swapping.
right? Okay.
Well, let's see. Triton and ITAP are just on stream. Ooh, Splatlander's Drexel can be a good one.
Oh, there goes Wolf.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, based on the teams already on stream from Group A, I guess it'd be either Grisco Workers Union versus Death Roll or Splatlanders versus Drexel.
Ooh. You know, I kind of want to see our sleeper pick.
All right,
So
I'm in agreement.
Yeah. Let's
to
see
go
our
Drexel
let's
Splatlanders,
see
I'm good with
our
that.
sleeper pick.
Alright, I'll let them know. Oh, you're also in there.
And while we're setting that up, I am going to be right back.
Are we still live, by the way, or is it on intermission?
We are still live. We got everything swapped here, so looking at Drexel Dragons
Okay, gotcha.
versus Spotlanders here for round 2.
Yeah.
And both sides seem to be starting to ready up now since we have everyone in the room.
Wahoo!
World. Okay, game 1 will have Flat Zones making its debut this tournament on Hagglefish Market.
How do we feel about Splat Zone's Hagglefish? I feel like the opinion on it flip-flops a lot, especially these days. And the crowd goes mild.
Yeah, honestly, this is a really exciting matchup overall between these two teams.
Why am I yawning? I literally just chugged a monster.
Did you try turning it on and off again?
That's a great idea. All right, let me try that. Hold on.
Oh wow, a game's ended already. PSU blew up 1-0 over ITAP.
I don't know if it worked.
So yeah, anyway, the game has started, and both teams have taken control already. Here we see Flatlanders taking control. Chris is pushing up, but will go down to the double there from Gillies and Max. And Drexel is setting up the bubble.
Pretty quick. I need to pick them.
Yeah, they do take Wana down, which getting rid of the Bella from Flatlanders is a big get.
Also, I'm just noticing Drexel's comp is crazy. We're running double decav, double bubble.
That is really interesting.
Honestly,
that's surprised.
Pretty
like
aggressive and carry comp here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're able to just set these bubbles up and like having 2 decavs gives them so much aggression.
Oh,
Finds
the
2
Booyah
with that Booyah!
Two.
Yeah, Drexel loses 2, but they have such a good position still.
And their timer's still going down too. And they're already back in thanks to Cooler.
Yeah, Flatlanders only has the strikes here, which are gonna come out. Zuka comes out, but looks like it gets shut down. They only find the pick on the pencil. Trying to paint here, but they're just trading 1 for 1. Drexel still has such a good hold on this zone.
Flatlanders still can't flip.
We have another Zuka ready. Zuka is coming out, finds 1. Try and flip. Flips with 5 on the clock.
Oh, that's a big flip. All of a sudden, Flatlanders are back in the game now. If they can maintain control here. Their penalty
The junior in
is
that
about
bubble.
to expire, and timer goes down deceptively fast in flat zones.
Just striking and bombing that flat, just trying to prevent Drexel's advance. Ooh, the T-Tech does get caught out there.
Yeah, Jesse's managing to maintain control of the zone with that bow, so they are forced to retreat, and Drexel manages to take control back, but they have a hefty penalty to work through now.
Zuka strikes coming out on the side of Splatlanders. Goes 1 for 1 here. Drexel's already back up though with that cooler. Air machine in court there.
Good pushing by Gillies as Turple is taking control of zone, trying to put some pressure on the inkjet, but it's just a bit too far away. Strikes coming out from Splatlanders as they will take zone. And Chris is moving up, trying to take fights with a member of Drexel up front, joined by Jerry and Jesse providing supporting fire.
They're trying to keep Drexel on that plot there. They can't really push up much further though, just because those bubbles. They popped 1 on the junior, but they still have both Booyah and another bubble ready to go for this push. They go 2 down though, and the clock is still ticking.
Yeah, this is anyone's game all of a sudden. Less than 10 points away. Strong competing
might
to come
find
back.
a lead here. Booyah comes out.
Oh,
Stops the count with 1 left, but oh, they're gonna take it back. Trying to flip it, finds the flip.
Incredible.
40 seconds left. Both teams have a huge penalty here.
Yeah, Drexel is trying to work through this penalty. They need a couple picks here. Unfortunately, where the decaps did go down there, so Max is able to get a pick with the other one.
Skirmishing a
Below 30
lot
left
in the
for the
flanks there.
penalty.
Turple jumps out just in the nick of time there. That's actually really big for them. Splatlanders does find the flip, but all of Drexel is still alive.
Yeah, Drexel does get control back for now. but how long will that last? Not that long with that Tenebella
Go back and forth. We see the Booyah coming out, but I don't know if it's enough in time.
It's not.
Wait.
Oh, overtime force.
It's
but
so close.
does Drexel have enough presence here? Gray sets up the bubble. It's not enough. Flatlanders narrowly takes game 1 in this comeback victory that was just a nail-biter through and through, despite how it looked early on.
I leave for a minute, and Flatlanders have already won a game.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it was a crazy game 1. Drexel got it down. Drexel got it down to 5. Flatlanders came back in an overtime win.
Wow. Nicely done to Flatlanders then.
Flatlanders being up 1-0, and elsewhere in Booyah Bowl, CSU Blues beating ITAP 1-0, Death Rolls beating WPI, Arcades beating Triton. Over on the other stream, Wiggler Ahoy's up 1-0 on Banana Split, and Ansu Scarlet is beating UCSD Esports Gold 1-0.
TC Museum. This will be a fun one.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah, I could maybe see Drexel running the double bubble comp again on tower control.
Ooh, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'll be curious, what was the comp out of Spotlanders? They're still running the roller comps that they're pretty well known for, yeah?
Yeah, they had the Tenebrella, they had Splatling, the bow, and was the roller before?
No, Sign's not here.
No. The roller. And Drexel's not going back to the double bubble. They're bringing out the carbon instead.
Makes a lot of sense.
And the charcoal decapitator says.
I actually wonder if they knew that Spotlanders like to play roller, so they kind of like were hesitant to put roller into roller, but now that they know it's the same thing.
Or that could be.
Ooh, Stabber rushing up the kick.
Yeah, not much of an early lead. For Splatlander there.
Down with a head into that bubble, so they're able to shred them pretty quickly. Ooh. Down low. So the jet comes out and they're 2 down. Now they're 3 down. Just the bow. What was that Zuka shot?
I know you almost faint.
I did deeply. There was an insane Zuka shot that just happened as he showed up.
Oh my goodness.
As tends to happen when Zuka's involved, and Gilly's getting some value out of that carbon roller there at the flank on Monosplat. Pressuring Jesse, will go down to 2v1.
Oh, 2.
Ooh, the double.
Double on Head It. 3 go down. Where's
3?
4th?
When Head is fully charged, it may as well be the best weapon in the game. The only issue is getting that full charge.
Nothing missed on the flank there.
Makes
I know
sense.
someone's there. But
Really wanted
yeah,
it.
Max sees that, backs up back to the platform.
Juana taking towers. Interesting seeing the recycle, but interesting seeing the recycle umbrella coming instead of the tent as well.
This is true. I just processed that. Yeah, when
Yeah.
not on tents,
Are they going to be able to break the check? No, they lose tower.
I do know. I bet. I do know that Tent struggles struggles into high objects. So maybe the double is like why they switched off, but then no more double bubble.
Yeah.
Drexel already just so aggressive back up on their flat. Tower's moving.
Teams are moving very fast.
Next got very aggressive there, but
Drexel goes 2 down, just backing up quick.
Just the pen. And there's a jet. They're jumping out. That makes sense. That's a smart
good
play.
jump.
Out.
Yeah. They've got a comfortable lead here. Like, if they push more, that's great for them. But at this point, they just need to play safe and just like kind of hold mid in their flat.
Exactly. If I'm Drexel right now, my main thought process is like, hey, whatever happens, they just can't get to 25.
Yeah. Especially once the clock starts taken down like this, you gotta like play a little more defensive. I feel like Drexel's doing a good job of that.
Yeah, sometimes if you have a big enough lead, it's good to just let the tower come to you, force enemy to fight in a disadvantageous position, and when the fight's there. But
they're doing such a good job of just like
when you have enough lead
here, like throwing out the specials. They go 1 for 2 here. Gilly's already just going in with this roller. Feels a lot of pressure. Ooh, barely gets picked there. I thought they were gonna get out.
I thought they did too.
This new Go kit is also so much fun with the Injet.
And the pen. Ooh, trying to corner. Oh, finds them right in the corner there. Drexel goes down 2. 45 seconds left. Still got a big lead here. Just gotta hold this flat.
Especially really trying to make a comeback for us Flatlanders. And
yeah, this Go kit's definitely one of my favorite new kits. Not only with the Inkjet, the angle shooter honestly works really well with Bow as well.
They are able to break this check, and that's actually really big for Splatlanders here.
Oh, the splash
2 for 2.
They don't have,
go down 3 for a moment. They're back fast, but are they going to be able to get back in time?
It's just a pen!
Pen doing everything they can to hold this. Splatlanders are able to get jumps back in. This is so close.
Point difference.
So close.
Drexel has no specials, and the strikes are coming out.
That's gonna do it!
That's
They go down 2.
for the Splatlanders!
They go down 3.
And a wipeout!
Ooh.
It is overtime. Drexel does have control of the tower as they are regrouping, but we'll see if they can make a big enough push to push
Zuka's coming out.
In.
And it drops on the flank.
Zuka unable to find anyone. They do inevitably get the pick, but it's not enough.
Back.
Two very impressive
goodness.
comebacks coming from the Splatlanders here in the set.
I could barely keep up with what was happening at the end of the game there. It was so back and forth.
Yeah.
Splatlanders takes the tower, starts pushing past checkpoint, uses the strikes, takes the lead, and then I can't tell, was that a quad by Gillies or no?
I think it was a triple. It was just because of the like spectator cam moving back and forth. It like had the little like splat pop-ups from both teams at one point.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, both teams went down 3 right there, and it was just like a 1v1 for a moment.
Either way, Gilly's guaranteeing the wipeout and touching the tower, just trying to get one last stand in. I love this tournament so much. Just that's the level of competition you see. I love this tournament, y'all.
Yeah, and ooh, Ansu Scarlet is beating UCSD Esports Gold 2-0. That's
Like,
an
really?
unbelievable upset.
That took us like process.
Yeah. Yeah, and VCU is beating Comet Busters 2-0. Wiggler Ahoy is beating Banana Split 2-0. PSU is beating ITAP 2-0. Oh, WPI and Death Roll is tied 1-1. And Arcaley is beating Triton 2-0.
These are just some insane sets coming out here today. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be looking at Rainmaker on Scorch Gorge for Game 3 here.
Or Train. Ooh. This will really be back and forth, I think, because the way that I'm seeing the comps play out, you know, we have a tent for being able to push.
Yeah, I definitely
believe
expect the tent to come back.
The tent's gotta come back here. Like, it's gotta, right? But the
I could definitely see it on a map like
this.
this.
Because Zuka is just one of my favorite specials on this map. It's so amazing. Like, you pop past that first checkpoint. You have such a straight line towards the enemy base from checkpoint. Just run it down with a Zuka.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of a gamble here because, like, if Drexel goes back to, like, double
It is
bubble
back.
or, like, double sword. Ooh.
There's
Alright,
the
Drexel,
tent.
Yeah, Drexel
Drexel
stayed.
Same thing.
It makes sense. That comp, like, it was close that last game. Like, both of these games, they went to overtime pushes.
And the wiper coming from Splatlanders now too takes advantage of the hammer.
Ooh. Huge perk from the Carbon, though.
Trent's just playing so well with, like, the wall there.
Ooh, really good position behind
Yeah,
that wall.
that's what Wanna Splat's known for.
They're a little eager on that ramp there and do get picked.
Yeah. Now it's just beheaded force back.
They do grab the Rainmaker for a bit, but no points scored.
I mean, no, we are a minute into this game with 0 points scored.
Well, now points are scored.
They're just starting to push. They have Cooler here, and the Booyah, so they should be able to break through this check.
Ooh, but not even the
Will we
Booyah.
get enough defense? Ooh.
The hammer?
Hammer throw.
Ah,
Won't get a pick, but it will take some space.
oh, huge roll by Jerry.
Down Mac.
Ooh.
Will he shred the Booyah Bomb?
does
No,
save-
not able to shred it.
What is this movement?
Oh my god! How has, like, no one gotten picked in that?
Purple eventually takes down Jerry
That
there.
was crazy.
Insane, and yup, there's
So
that
much
Zuka.
happened,
When you get down.
like nothing happened. Huge pick
Is that
there on the
Zuka you're
head. Oh my
talking
god.
about?
Finds the tent. Alright.
Back into the corner, probably gonna jump.
Flatlanders are kind of staggered here. One jumps back. Still isn't really in a position to continue to push though.
No, not at all. This is one where, like, again, like, they don't really need to, though. They are perfectly content keeping that Rainmaker.
Especially on a map like
Something
this,
with the
too.
hammer does eventually just get picked out though.
I feel this is a map where the first push is so important because of how much you could lock things down.
Oh,
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
Look at this comp. Like, you have a really, really good deep comp out of people with that Carbon. It's a very, very skilled Carbon are able to do that. What people really capable of that.
Yeah.
So, like, what we're looking at is, like, Drexel really just says, like, I don't need to move forward. Once I get the lead, you have to come to me, and we have so much paint. There's a Carbon somewhere. Good luck.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big advantages of taking the lead early. You can afford to pick and choose where you want to take your fights. So much more.
Out. Oh, wait. Oh, no, but the 10 times isn't out.
Wanna catches the charge.
Huge Zuka. Huge.
Finds 3!
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
god, what a play
That's
from the
Junior.
10.
And that bubble gets shredded down too, thanks to the bow.
Junior lives, but they are able to take the range, pushing up. They have cooler specials coming out. Drexel goes down 3. Drexel goes down 4!
Wipe out! Oh, this is big.
Flatlanders
This is
in
big.
such a
Using the
good
hammer
position
pop.
here. They have control of the court here. They don't have any specials, but Drexel's still kind of forced up in their bats.
And for the third game in a row, Splatlanders manages to flip the lead after going down early.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lead for them too. Like, able to get through that entire court. Like,
Yeah.
this ramp is like the hardest choke on the map, but if you can at least get it there, that's big. And it looks like they're gonna get it up.
They have the tools. The
Oh,
hammer forces
Drexel
another
gets wiped.
wipeout.
I don't think they're gonna be back in time. They won't.
Yeah, that hammer still being up enables such a fast pop of the Rainmaker, so that could be finished before Drexel could get back in there.
Yeah, this is like kind of what we were saying earlier. Like, you might like see the scoreboard and you see 3-0, but like this was such a close set. Like all of these games came just like right down to the wire.
Ansu has their standby sub now over in help desk. Yeah, very impressive with 3 comeback wins by Splatlanders in this set. Also looking around the tournament, PSU Blue has avenged their season 1 loss against ITAP with a 3-0 win here. Death Roll has managed to hold off the Grisco Workers Union 2-1, and Arc Haley beats Triton Splatoon 3-0. Meanwhile, over in Group B, Wiggler Ahoy takes down Banana Split 3-0, and the Big Fat Sea Cows hold off the Comet Blasters for a 2-1 win, and Ansu Scarlet finishes their upset over UCSD Esports Gold, beating them 2-1. So lots of exciting stuff still continuing to happen. The storyline's generating too. So yeah, we should be good to generate for round 3 now as well.
Alrighty.
Our bracket's generated, so I think we're going back to Group B here, right?
Yes. Ooh, Banana Split versus UCSD might be.
Banana Split was just on stream though.
I see. In that case,
Yeah,
have VCU or H-Town Rebels been on stream yet? Because if not, that would be a good one.
I don't think either have. No, and H-Town
Okay.
was just on their buy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that then.
Nope, well, they said they're going to need a couple minutes to finish a turf war. Yeah, and what do we want to stream in Group A? The main stream. There's Splatlanders, PSU, Haley Death Roll, ITAB, Drexel. Yeah, I think Arcaley Death Roll. They haven't been on stream yet.
Alright.
I'll let them know.
should be all sorted out perfectly now.
Nice.
Good to go on round 3, the last round of Swiss. I didn't post an announcement.
Yeah, it looks like teams are getting there in Battle Fi.
Perfect.
And I let the stream matches now as well. Okay, cool. CKK is there. So yeah, Twitch stream is getting Arcali versus Death Roll, and we are getting VCU versus H-Town.
Fire.
They're all in the room and getting ready.
But,
Alright,
perfect.
nice.
I love that they're playing Turf War.
Well, wait, is the fest going on right now?
Yes.
Right, yeah, that's probably...
Yeah, the fest is happening right now, that's why. We're going in.
Oh boy.
VCU.
Here we go with...
Rebel, best of luck to both teams, and they are immediately asking to reset the game.
Oh no.
Oh no!
Gluga's mentioned! Gluga's mentioned!
It is an H-Town game after all.
What?
AFK teammate, oh no! They have a teammate who's not here.
Well, let's enjoy this squid party while it lasts then. And there it is.
Yeah, they are resetting to thankfully allow whoever is AFK to come back.
Yeah. PSU's already up 1-0 on Splatlanders.
I love the sportsmanship out of the CCA.
Yeah. Now here we go. Game 1 for real this time on Umami Clan Blitz. And here we go. Okay, wait, let's push to the middle space.
Slowly advancing up the walls there.
We're gonna pull.
The hammer comes up,
We'll go down.
so, but they're able to at least move that ball back a little bit.
Yeah, here comes the Booyah Bomb and Inkjet at the same time from the side of H-Town.
A lot of specials coming out. Finding
Yeah, both sides
couple picks
especially.
here.
Yeah, VCU going a couple down early on. H-Town only being one down.
Hammer coming out. Oh, getting the pick there. They no longer have the ball, and they gotta fall back a bit. Luga's doing what they can to just kind of chip
They are
people.
down too. Both thing coming in.
my God.
It's a double in one slash.
That was crazy.
I was gonna say, like, how are they not going down? I swear the Vipers hit them like 7 times, and there they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one for the highlight reels.
You know they clipped that.
Yeah.
Super just back and forth game here.
You know, neither team able to get on the scoreboard as of yet.
Yeah.
And CCA's
Very
are being
skirmishy
pushed
too.
back.
We're like,
Dio applying nice pressure with its ball points.
both of these comps are honestly just like so skirmishy. Just like very like mobile weapons that can just like
Yeah.
put a lot of pressure on. It's been just very back and forth in vid. Like most fights, we're only finding like 1 or 2 picks total.
Yeah, and there's a lot of moments where people were like,
As soon as one side gets numbers, they start going down two and two and have to regroup.
exactly.
All right,
like,
we're starting to find some here.
Yeah, but this
One
whale
jump coming in. Oh, 3
Two
down.
down from the whale.
trying to keep them alive.
Complete trying to live, maybe find a trade out, but does not find it.
That was an excellent killer whale from the Seek House, taking down 2 members of the H-Town Rebels.
Seacoast starting to move up, and H-Town already down 1 and kind of pushed back to their flat there, but Seacoast just don't really have the clams yet. They have a ball made, and they're starting to push in with this hammer. Are they going to be able to find it, though?
One gets
Find
through.
2 with the hammer,
cover.
3 down total.
And there
This
is
is
the
the
first
first score of the
goal
game.
Great use of cover on that hammer, allowing them to survive long enough to take 2 down with them, move with them, and create the opening needed for the Seek House to score. That was a great
We
play
have
there.
a lot more clams coming in, just kind of very slowly staggering them in, keeping that basket open as long as possible.
Dio somehow staying alive for a really long time there.
H-Town goes down 3 again, and we have even more clams coming. Oh, but they don't get there quite in time.
Oh. Still though, getting it down to 41 on that push is massive.
Yeah, and they just have another ball ready to go, already holding mid. They can keep this position for a while, maybe find like another like 2-piece. They're already in position to start pushing again. They have so many clams.
Because they're showing why they have the reputation they do.
Alright, there's one.
Running in with the bubble that's
Just-
be able to get a lot.
Yeah, getting
Oh,
right
just
behind the
got
Glugas,
that
bubbling
ball.
up so aggressively. Oh, what a beautiful play.
Yeah, and that'll score through the penalty, already scoring a lot more here. Toto
Down
is
to
still
23.
hanging
They
around
have
the dome
another
area.
ball. Jumping it into the bubble.
Oh, but not working. They go down 23
Great
points
pull back
away.
of squabbles there.
Not able to save it
H-Town does
either.
find the
No.
wipe. A minute left. They're gonna have to make something happen fast. They have the pity ready. They're already starting to push up, gathering a bunch of clams in mid. They have the Booyah and the strikes ready to come out. Finds the score. Lots of specials coming out on the side of H-Town. Will they be able to keep up this pressure?
We'll see. They're gonna go in. They're definitely trying to stall out this basket here. Oh, the hammer does not Oh, 7 on there.
Trying to put as many clams in as they can here. They get a couple more in, but it's not quite enough. That wiper goes down with all of the clams.
An impressive push, but the Sea Cats have already given themselves enough of a lead that they're able to withstand it.
H-Town does have another ball ready though, and they are going to have overtime here. 10 seconds left on the clock. Both teams have a ton of clams and a ball ready to go. This next score will decide the game.
Yeah, for sure. Come in.
Oh,
Great
huge.
pick there.
H-Town goes
Yeah, that's
down.
3 down on the side of
3 down from
H-Town.
H-Town.
Oh, but doesn't
Aren't
work.
able to score, but they don't get overtime because that ball wasn't picked up. And that is
Yeah.
it.
No, that's game 1.
Yeah.
That's how we're starting the set.
Wow. And we get the fist bump there between Minnie and Fox. Love to see that. in other news, PSU Blue is beating Splatlanders 2-0. Arc Haley is beating Death Roll 1-0. WPI Grisco Workers Union beating Triton Splatoon 1-0. And the other matches are in progress.
That's game 1. There's 2 more to go after that. This is an amazing set.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this. Because what map are we going to right now? We're going to... Zones on Wahoo!
Wahoo World.
Very unconventional map. I'm trying to think based off of the pure compositions. It's a very tiny zone that leaves itself open to a lot of cheese strategies. So I'll be curious to see how the comps are going to adapt.
I smell a Reef Slider.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I don't think either teams have a Reef Slider
Yeah.
in their pool.
I could see maybe like something like a double hammer from the Sea Cows, maybe.
It's very possible. Sea Cows pulling out a hammer. I expect it. I expect Lux. They're likely going to stay on that wiper for that hammer. But man, we will see what happens. The only way to find out what the comps are is to look at them with our very own eyes.
Indeed. We go seeing. Oh, there's the new
red
dread. I believe that is the horns. Is that... Yeah, crafting can be really impressive on this map.
Volunteering for the crab dread instead of the sliding cheese dread on this map is a bit interesting, but I would love to see how this plays out. Me taking a very aggressive position with it and getting caught out for it.
And H-Town's running double Booyah as well.
Ooh, Booyah will be actually very good for sort of cheese on this map.
Especially on this circular small zone, especially.
Just the Gloogas.
They do go 3 down. The Gloogas are able to live and just kind of hold a good position here. They're gonna Booyah. It's like stalling the zone and protecting those jumps. Does find one too.
Great play by Pete. Taking a shower, moving out. Unfortunately, getting picked down by the combination
Such
from
a
the
good
Sea Cows.
position there, just not able to find the pick in time.
Yeah, this Dreadringer is also a beast of a weapon too.
Oh yeah, especially on a very vertical map like this.
Yeah.
It's able to play around those walls, play around the pit. Yeah. They have the crab tank ready. It's coming out. Finds the jet pick. Looks like finds 2. Able to shut down the Glooga. Can we get a 3rd?
Not
not quite
the Booyah
enough
Bomb
to shred
will
the
come
Booyah.
out.
Huge timing for that crab to end though, allowing the dread to paint over.
They shut down the strikes after just 2. Those strikes really aren't able to find a flip there. And H-Town goes down 3. Ooh.
Oh, I thought it was going to be
doing
enough.
what they can to live and hold for these jumps. Looks like the jumps are able to come back. Catches the one jump out on the side of Sea Cows.
Huge pick from that pro.
Toto getting pressured. I repeat, thanks to Dio there. Bobbles is fighting the bucket.
Living there, able to avoid the dread. Sea Cow's coming from both sides.
Avoid that. There's that hammer throw coming in. Taking control away just from the throw itself.
Coulson desperately trying
Is
to make
H-Town going to be able to hold the zone? They do not.
So all 4 members of the Sea Cows are there just right away, all attacking together. That's 3 down from H-Town, as Toto is flanking here, attacking their bats just so aggressively. Here, and the Sea Cows are maintaining control as their penalty gets under 30 points to go.
So amazing. It's so back and forth even. It's just exactly what we've come to expect from the previous game. So back and forth. Like, yes, ECU has a massive lead, 40 points on the board right now. That could be gone in a minute in this map.
Oh, and we still have 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, and H-Town is down to just 11 on their penalty. Oh, never mind, make that 22. I spoke a bit too soon there. As the Sea Cows regain control of the zone. And Mini shredding the Booyah with the pencil there, too, finishing off that shred. Oh,
that's that pitch.
H-Town goes down another one. Staggering their backline, too.
And it did just occur to me too, H-Town is also clueless this game, so all of these picks, all of these trades that happen, they're just even better for BCU.
Oh, that wall bounces a little awkwardly there. They are
able to cap the zone, able to stall it out. And
Coulson sounds in much to a sword fight.
Coulson living though.
With how close this
Coulson won it.
been, all H-Town really needs is the time. It's fine that these things are a little bit awkward if they cap zone. They just need time on their hands.
See the strikes coming out from H-Town already. Okay, all their specials are coming out. Oh, this flank
that's a really good
from the
angle on
Jet
this
be huge, pulling the attention of the Charger. They are able to take the zone back, but no picks with that Jet, and they go down 3.
2 down. Yeah.
Jump out. Good jump out. Good trying not to force the Booyah to try and cap the zone there. Especially into a Dread, they just have the paint to cap that back. You know?
30 seconds left, and that penalty is down to almost nothing for the Sea Cows.
They gotta make something happen now. Oh, they find 2! The Booyah comes out, but it's just the sword.
That's game.
Not enough. Still so amazingly close and back and forth.
WPI Grisco Workers Union 3-0ing Triton Splatoon, and PSU Blue 3-0ing the Splatlanders. Drexel beating ITAP 1-0. Arcaley beating Deathroll 2-0. And UCSD Esports Gold beating Banana Split 2-0.
Having a lot of 2-0 sets right now, a lot of sweeps in this round of the game.
Yeah.
So far, there is no set that I'm seeing that is coming down to a game 3. It's a very, very dominating round 3 out of the brackets these times.
Yeah, it looks like Wahoo Zones is having connection issues all over the various sets.
And here we are going in for Ship Shape Tower Control. I almost forgot what this map is called. And never mind, we are not playing Ship Shape Tower Control today, actually. Fun fact.
Well, not at the moment, at least.
Fun fact, we are not about to play that game. It's happening a little bit later.
Yep, teams getting their subs in.
Makes sense, makes sense. Need to be able to get in. I love when people, like, teams on stream, they load in and then immediately cancel out.
We're playing this. Oh wait, no we're not.
There should be a way for, like, non-hosts to, like, cancel the queuing in. And a private battle, but just no. You just have to sit through the entire loading screen, go through all of the logic with it. Great. I love the game sometimes. I love when we have quality of life. PSU Blue 3-0 sets wise. Have they dropped a game yet?
Yeah, they did against WPI. They dropped one.
Has not dropped a game since the first one of the tournament.
Man. Yeah. UCSD has beaten Banana Split 3-0.
There's our set that we've been waiting for.
Now we're playing ship-shaped tower control.
Heavy edit on both sides. Oh! Ooh! This is a fun comp out of VCU.
Yeah.
All new weapons besides that crab edit. Ooh, this is such a fun comp for VCU. I can't. Never mind. There it all goes. Down immediately. Two specials online from H-Town. There goes the crab, trying to keep that space that they just gained. H-Town, ooh, they are saying you should not have tried to change what was working because, ooh, we're just going to come in and run, and there's nothing you can do.
Nice hit by complete into the roll into the Booyah bomb. Holding that, waiting for the tower to reach the checkpoint before using their Booyah for protection. Very smart play there from complete.
Is this going to be? There's no way. Okay. Okay. Coulson, the only one left on H-Town Rebel side.
Oh my god.
Oh!
It's not one on the tower!
Oh my god! The jump is coming in! Wipe out!
What? Immediately!
Oh my goodness!
Oh my god!
What a way to say we are not letting ourselves get 3-0'd here. Oh my god.
What just happened?
Down, but never out.
The H-Town Rebels happened.
Between these games, I said, you know, there isn't a game that's really not been a 3-0 at the end of its set so far, and H-Town just needed to prove me wrong. They needed to just say, no, I'm actually going to make it, so this isn't as dominant around as you think it is. I'm going to show up. I'm going to blow up everyone.
Yeah. And with that, the set is now over. VCU Big Fat CK still winning the set 2-1, but a very impressive, very quick Game 3 coming from H-Town there.
My god. That was just such an insane set. VCU took the set, but what the hell? H-Town Rebels, I still don't have words. I'm still not quite sure what happened there.
Yeah, and Arc Haley managed to beat Death Roll 2-1. WPI 3-0'd Triton. ITAP and Drexel is currently tied 1-1 playing Game 3, it looks like. Wiggler Ahoy 3-0'd Octos and Squids United Scarlet. UCSD Esports Gold 3-0'd Banana Split. Comet Blasters had the bye. Wiggler Ahoy going 3-0 in group stages in their grand return. Very exciting to see that.
Oh man, at the end of round 1, the 4 teams we have moving on to the gold bracket. Wiggler Ahoy with a 3-0 set. Have they dropped a game? Wiggler Ahoy dropped a game?
Let me check.
They have not. Wiggler Ahoy not dropping a single game so far. They did have a round 1 bye, but has not dropped a game yet. Toast and Squids United Scarlet, UCSD Esports Gold, and VCU Big Fat Sea Cows securing their spot in that previous set. Leading PSU Blue, the Splatlanders, Arcaley, and Drexel Dragons. Oh, this is going to be a very good gold bracket.
Alright. I'm gonna BRB for like 5 minutes or so.
Enjoy.
No problem.
Just grabbing myself. That's words.
Yeah, we said we let it go, but we settled for the last. Couldn't let you want it though. Who am I to let you down? No, who am I to let you down? Down, down. If you let me walk away, maybe then we'd lose it all. No. Who am I to let you
Inside lane, missing exits, glued to the pavement. Between the lines, I'll keep my gaze straight ahead as the last stop flies by. No more waiting for the gun to fire. No more walking through revolving doors. I've gone around once, and I don't need to.
Welcome in, everybody, to the CCA Booyah Bowl All-Stars 5-year anniversary Invitational. We have made it to the bracket stages, and you are here watching the master or the silver side of the bracket. My name is Shiny Hunter Zach, and joining me is the very talented Rissa on the PNG model. How are you doing today, Rissa?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great. I'm glad you're doing good as well. I'm excited. We were talking a little bit about this beforehand, but excited to see the matches coming up too.
Yeah, you mentioned your first time casting on the CCA side of things. How does it feel to take a look at not just some collegiate teams playing each other, but just the entire 5-year history of what it means to play University Splatoon?
I'm actually very excited in that case because I was trying to do my best to try and kind of catch up on the collegiate, you know, different teams and where they came from and where they're all playing from and representing. And it's like overwhelming in a good way because we get to witness that firsthand and see it all come to this. Speaking of coming all to this moment, we are actually going to be headed into our first game here, WPI Grizz Co-workers Union versus Comet Blasters.
Yeah, you mentioned getting right into the action very quickly. WPI standing for Worcester Polytechnic Institute taking on Comet Blasters, one of 2 teams playing today from UT Dallas as they are wiped out by WPI Grizz Co-workers United. We are here on Clam Blitz Scorchforge. They get a very quick 25-second power clam and break on the barricade. That's going to be already past the 60-point mark.
Yeah, I didn't even really get to, process the map, what weapons I'm seeing as well, because the way that Grizz Co-workers is able to just hop right into the action, get the clams they needed, rush to the basket, not only score in the power clam to open up the basket, but score in these additional power clams as well, able to get their score all the way down to 27. I think that's one of the most fast basket opening scores I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's an absolute breakout here. We were kind of talking in the pre-show about how this is a combination, as it is a 5-year history of teams that have either been out of the game for a while, graduated as it were, as we see Neptune getting a pick there, trying to get one with the Trizuka, but not able to, as well as some teams that have quite literally been in the scene in the past day, week, and month. So Astra trying to set things up here for Comet Blasters, using a couple of the new weapons, one of them being the Clamor's Splatter Shot with the Burst Bomb and Kraken Royale. And then we're seeing the new Splatter Shot Pro as well. I believe the Frozen, as we see April get a couple. This could be a comeback here for Comet Blasters.
Yeah, Comet Blasters is really trying to set themselves up to take mid. They've had to do a really intensive job there of cleaning up around their basket. And you can see too, they were doing a good job as well at pushing into mid. But with that big tower right in the middle of where the middle of the map is, Grizz Co-workers has just been consistently around that tower and utilizing it and kind of almost faking out Comet Blasters. So Comet Blasters, even though they got, inch by inch closer to mid and closer to pushing, Grizz Co-workers just did a good job at holding down mid and making sure they didn't let up the space they needed.
Yeah, and WPI is sending a couple of members back, including Neptune. They have a good amount of, speed and maneuverability on that regular splatter shot, or the order version, I should say, with Seekin, who's no stranger to the scene, having been both a player as well as a tournament organizer, getting a pick there onto Guard, a second there onto Colombo. So Seekin hasn't lost a step over the years, trying to set things up as we get closer and closer to that halfway point. A couple of specials online. They will lose their Kraken Royale, however, so it's just going to be those Tetra Dualies, with I believe the Reef Slider still online, the final weapon there, making up their composition. That mini Splatling Seekin getting Gart a second time, so deja vu history repeating itself. Comet Blasters with the tough task of trying to reclaim mid before they can even truly push, but WPI holding strong so far.
I feel like as soon as the commentary is passed over to me, it's kind of all of a sudden we're in the same position where it seems like Grizz Co-workers suddenly has mid. They're going to start pushing forward. And again, right here, as I believe that's Neptune, drops down, gets a pick on a Seekin, gets another pick onto Astrid, and is watching this jump in from April. Their teammate follows up with that power clam. Again, they're in this really good position where they are able to push forward, and they didn't even really necessarily need specials. It almost seemed like they really used brute force there to just rush forward and open up that basket.
Yeah, to your point, Neptune really holding down both ends of the floor, really being the offensive edge as they got basically a triple, as well as pulling out the Trizuka, but also pulling back to grab the clams that they needed to get rid of that penalty. They pushed this time down to 13, mainly just losing their slosher at the end of that engagement. This is going to allow Comet Blasters now to finally get a bit better control of mid, and they get a late pick there onto Neptune, who was sharking around in Comet Blasters kind of basket area. They're looking to see if they could retain, push it all. They're going to go 1-for-1 as the slosher goes down again. The mini Splatling and the Frozen down as well. Their last surviving member going to be invulnerable for the time being with that Kraken Royale. Gart smartly with that Inkzuka backing off, waiting for the right time to use that Killer Whale 5.1, but under a minute left to go. We've not seen the real sparks of life from Comet Blasters. In fact, when they're getting picks, they're unfortunately trading out, and that's not going to really benefit them with the amount of time that they have left.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point to bring up. They're really needing to make sure that they get picks while staying alive, not getting those trades. You can see here with one going down at Comet Blasters, Dog is trying to do everything they can. They were trying to get the clams they needed. They were able to make that power clam, but also they were trying to push forward and create space for their team. They really aren't, being able to utilize their specials all together really to push forward when they're playing defensive, and it's really allowing them to just kind of stay back in their spawn consistently. So as we head into the last 10 seconds here, will Comet Blasters be able to push forward and score in their clam that Astrid has? This is going to allow them to go into overtime, but they just need to get coordinated here if they actually want to score in these clams.
It's going to take a lot. Overtime is going to start here. It is one of the longer overtimes that you have in the ranked modes, and they're holding on now. The two power clams. April going to try and push forward with the hammer. They actually got splatted the last time they pulled the hammer out. No splats this time around. They have back crossed into a corner, but April will fall right in front of the basket. Neptune once again locking things down. Comet Blasters will get on the board, but it will cost them both a wipeout as well as the game. WPI moving forward to celebrate getting a final pick there onto Astrid, and that will be game one as WPI Grisco Workers Union takes out Comet Blasters here on Scorch Gorge.
Yeah, I was really kind of sitting here trying to think to myself, what did Comet Blasters need to do in particular to get past what Grisco Workers was doing? Grisco Workers almost just seemed like they were consistently having that team synergy that you want, knowing how to play off of one another, knowing when to sit back or push forward. And Comet Blasters, I don't know. I just kind of maybe want to see them, utilizing their specials a little bit better to play off of them together.
Well, we entered this game rather suddenly, so we haven't yet gotten the chance to explain the change in formatting. Of course, we had that Swiss 3-round format to kind of decide who was going to go to either the Doctorate or Gold or Masters or Silver bracket. But now that we are in said Silver bracket, we are doing a strikeout system in which in each round there is a map list of 7 map mode combinations and one team each getting to pick a map mode combination that they would like to strike from the record, and then we'll go straight down from there. So each team getting to pick, but the higher seed gets to go and select first which one they would not like to play in this best of 5, despite there being 7 maps and modes. We got some stats there. Neptune putting up a 20-piece with only 3 of those being assists, 8 splat, so they're not afraid to get their hands a little bit dirty, supported there by Frost with 14 splats on the Slosher. That's a weapon that's been in the meta for quite some time now, Rissa, and Gart holding down the fort as well with 13 on the Ink Rush.
Oh my gosh, what? Those are some crazy stats. That's cool that we get to see the stats as well, because typically in Splat 3 we don't get to analyze those really after the game, since that screen doesn't pop us for us. So that's really cool to see it. I kind of highlighted it too in the middle of commentating there. They really seemed like, maybe wasn't necessarily their specials. Specials did help them a lot, but they really had just that brute force and, ability to push forward and get the splats that they need with their individual weapons.
Well, as you can see on the screen here, we have what maps do remain. One of the map mode combinations that was scrapped would have been our first one, Rainmaker on Crab Leg Capital. We did Clam Blitz on Scorch Gorge. If we make it that far, you'll see it in Game 4 again for Clam Blitz. And next, we're going to TC Hagglefish Market, which also answers what the other map mode combination was that was stricken from the record, that being Splat Zones on Flounder Heights. So getting rid of that 2-zone map with kind of that highest verticality taken out of the equation here. We'll run it through at least Rainmaker Manta Maria as well. But Rissa, we're going to a very familiar, very neutral sort of map and mode combination. The map especially, what's your take as a player yourself on Hagglefish?
Hagglefish, tower control in particular, like you said, it's a good neutral map and mode. I like that, initially it's very flat, it's a very big map, and you have the space to really think about how to approach the other team. But it can get a little hairy once you get to that second checkpoint area and the other team really just funnels out to the tower. You really have to be careful and play that good. If you aren't set up past the tower at that point, it can really just everything fall in the worst way for your team. So you really have to really set up defensively there at that point.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. That kind of first checkpoint, it hits you in the alleyway and sort of under, where your opponent is coming around all the way on the left-hand side of the map. It's a pretty narrow hallway, and it actually kind of comes even in terms of leveling with the ramp that's on the side, so it can be pretty easily shot at by the more offensively minded teammates that are not going to be babysitting the tower, for lack of a better word. But as you get through the later checkpoints, it really opens up. You get into that sort of open fawn type court area that can be very difficult to defend against, especially if the team you're playing, like we saw from our winners there in game number 1, is going to be very difficult to get out of a situation where you're not kind of scrambling in your court area and having difficulties getting away from your opponents, especially if we see another 20 piece from Neptune. But we're going to get into it and see what weapon changes might have been made early on here. Pretty similar weapons. I do see a Splat Dualies coming into play. That is going to be the new Embers variant of the Splat Dualies there, with the Fizzy Bomb and the Big Bubbler. And on the other side of things, Astrid throwing it back with the Neo Sloshing Machine.
Yeah, I haven't seen that weapon played in quite a while, but I definitely see the vision. It's essentially, I think, going to come down to, that GG Booyah Bomb. That's why you're going to be wanting to play that machine in particular, able to stop the tower when needed. Now, regardless, Comet Blasters here is the team that initially is able to hop onto the tower, but with some scrappy fights going on into mid, Grizz Co-Workers takes down 3 members of Comet Blasters, hops on the tower themselves here, and they're going to be the ones now pushing the tower instead.
Yeah, good early defense, kind of a lesson, and you don't want to put all of your eggs in the objective basket too early because they only get to 83 here. That's a pretty easy lead in this 3 checkpoint map, and this is the first checkpoint that I was discussing right under this kind of slim hallway. They're locking it down with both the Big Bubbler as well as the Flingser Roller. They'll get the cannon missiles off as well and use the pole in the middle to dodge at least one of those shots from the Trizuka. The Flingza, unfortunately, having a bit of trouble getting on top of the tower. That's really the only saving grace for Comet Blasters, and this is exactly what I think both of us feared, Rissa, getting locked into that spawn area. Maybe a bit of resistance now, but Comet Blasters needing to stop this one soon.
Yeah, absolutely. This is that point that I highlighted at the beginning of this, and then you were really able to enunciate it after that. Exactly that point, that second checkpoint. You really have to make sure you're on your game if you're playing defense or even pushing the tower too. It can just get really, really tricky. So we're seeing the tower come back into neutral, and with a complete wipe there coming out from the Comet Blasters. Once again, Comet Blasters going to have to be playing, coming out of their spawn really carefully, as we saw that Julie rush up and pushing in really aggressively. Thankfully, though, for Comet Blasters, they're able to clear out their spawn area. I feel like that's the trickiest part of that, and now they're going to start creating space. April here going to try and flank around too and assist their teammates with a flank.
Yeah, they're going to try and throw out the Ultra Stamp here. They get spotted, so I think they're going to pay for it. 2 members of Grisco Workers Union following after them and even committing a tri-strike to try and save their teammate on the side of Comet Blasters. But maybe, from your side as a perspective, it's tough for me to know when is the best time to commit everything. Because look at Comet Blasters. They're 3 down again. They do have the Reef Slider to try and get somebody off the tower, and they're pretty easily picked off the shots there, or the ink from the Reef Slider not even reaching the tower. They were able to stand on it pretty easily and not take any damage. But it's so tough to know when you're in a back foot situation to commit everything early. Comet Blasters having a difficult time with that question themselves, as WPI able to close them out again in a knockout here, not requiring overtime and taking a 2-0 set lead.
Grizz Co-Workers again. I really just feel like they're very good at playing aggressively and not hesitating. I feel like as a player myself, if I hesitate, that's when things just spiral downhill. So Grizz Co-Workers is just doing a good job at keeping that consistent pressure. And you were kind of highlighting there at the end, Comet Blasters just really, they're trying to figure out, okay, I'm saving my special, but do I use my special now? Do I wait for another teammate to have a special too and then use it then to chain it off of that? It seems like they're having a difficult time trying to figure out how they want to synergize their specials in that way. And in turn, Grizz Co-Workers is recognizing that almost and just is really playing off of their hesitations.
Yeah, to your point, you don't want to have to commit those resources when you're basically having just jumped down from your spawn. Like, it's a very difficult situation. You do have kind of that built-in mechanic of when you're reclaiming space, it's helping to charge your special again. But facing a team like WPI, who's very aggressive, they have team members that are not afraid to basically just cut a path through the enemy ink, not really worry about turfing and get in the faces of their opponent. As soon as they come back, it can be very difficult to find the time, the space, the energy to win a fight without requiring the use of some of those specials, be they more offensively minded specials or ones that are more meant to maybe be used in a winning situation. In this instance, when you're on the tower, like we saw with WPI, when they were pushing, able to pretty easily commit both the big bubbler and the 10 missiles when they were at that first checkpoint, making what could be a difficult operation to kind of get through a relatively easy one, getting I think a native splat as well with just their main weapon while they were going through that. And we move now to our last guaranteed map mode combination here, Rainmaker on Manta Maria. I always love to say this is a very just linear map, not a ton of width either way, but it doesn't always feel that way. It feels like there's always, you know, little crafty ways that you can get either behind a team to do a flank or to use maybe that sort of left-hand side court area to create a little bit of space and maybe back off the enemy team as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many, you know, whether you are pushing the Rainmaker or, you know, your teammates holding the Rainmaker and you're pushing ahead of that, there's so many different routes you can pressure and add just aggression or a nuisance with specials, bombs, everything like that. And if it all plays out correctly, this whole entire map and mode can really spiral out of control if you're the team that's against the team that's pushing the Rainmaker. If there's flanks coming in on your top left, if there's flanks coming in on the right in your spawn, and then they're getting up on the grates that are in your spawn as well, and you can't get past that, it can get so tricky if you are not making sure that you're watching all the avenues of this map.
The spawn on this map arguably even more difficult because it's on a lower ground. So if you're backed up that far, you're giving your team a high ground, especially if they have the weapons to match it. Speaking of weapons, I did see a swap over to the 52 gal on the side of, I believe, WPI. And for Comet Blasters to put up some resistance, basically running it back. They're still going to have that Sloshing Machine Neo. They have the 10 attack again, kind of with that more paint-minded special. And already we see Neptune trying to pull off a cheeky little flank.
Yeah, Neptune immediately. I like too that we have Neptune's point of view here on this as well. They immediately run back, get that flank onto the snipe area. Seekit here recognizes the flank, actually calls that out. He's going to see this jump in as well. Is able to turn and get that pick onto Mario. And now Comet Blasters, they have the momentum right now. They're able to get at least through that first checkpoint, push that Rainmaker a little bit past that as well, and get their score down to 37. Neptune there throwing out a little squid bag as they're able to get a team wipe onto Comet Blasters, but I think that's a great start from Comet Blasters for this.
Yeah, to your point, despite the squid bag and maybe venting a little bit of frustration as they're able to pick up two here, that first initial kind of flank did not work out the way they wanted it to. They didn't have the range to get the Rainmaker, and they missed some of those shots. They were picked off there by Seekin, and Seekin actually kind of holding it down from an offensive perspective from the side of Comet Blasters. Despite that, WPI able to get that first checkpoint pretty easily. However, they do have a disconnect, and so they are 3v4 at this point. They're not showing it though, as yet another two picks. Neptune, despite that, unable to avenge their prior loss to Seekin, who's able to get off the Reef Slider. Not going to get a pick there. Will find 2 out of the 3, and Comet Blasters holding on to their lead so far. Both teams still playing it out, so I think despite the disconnect, we will finish this one out with sort of a 3v4 benefit for Comet Blasters.
I believe Comet Blaster's score is too far for them to, you know, stop the game and they can keep playing this out. So as the Rainmaker is back into mid now, Comet Blaster's in control of the Rainmaker. Once again, we see Dog grabs that Rainmaker and Seekit there painting the path for them. So they're pushing that Rainmaker, about to get a dunk, and they aren't quite able to get it, but they do get that point all the way down to 1. So Risco, they're trying to do everything they can to paint over that path, but weren't quite able to do it. Comet Blasters is going to go ahead and dunk that Rainmaker and now get a score on the board.
Despite WPI using the grates, kind of the only real high ground that you get to defend from that second checkpoint. The final checkpoint here, Comet Blasters, even with the disconnect, I think showing a lot of heart and a lot of change there in sort of how their strategy came about. And Rainmaker can really facilitate those kind of changes. It's a very fast-paced mode. You can lose track of things very quickly. That push to 37, you know, it didn't jump down to the lower ground where that second checkpoint is. So from a will this map last the whole 5 minutes perspective, I'm not sure that it would have, given all things equal, but a ton of fight back from the side of Comet Blasters. Seekant in particular, we got to spectate a ton. Several 2 and 3 down situations forced as a result of their nicely timed dodges and rolls there on the dualies, I believe. So doing very well, playing that new variant, I think, as well, the Embers variant. So very cool to see that fight back, and that will guarantee us that we go back now to Clan Blitz, this time on Museum de Alfonsino.
Ooh, okay, this is going to be really fun to see it. In particular, too, if we see, like you were just talking about Seekant being on, I believe it was the Tetras. Immediately, when I think of Museum, you know, I just constantly, my brain immediately goes to thinking about flanks, in particular for Clan Blitz. So a weapon like that Tetra is going to be able to consistently flank over and over and over. And if they're able to play that off correctly, they're going to be able to utilize that to get pushes in. And, you know, I'm very curious what the other team is going to be playing. Well, I'm sure they're going to be playing the same thing, but I'm just thinking about for their comp, you know, which weapon is going to be that aggressive flanking weapon on their end.
Yeah, to your point, I think definitely kind of a more square, boxy map. It plays, you know, to where you're kind of fighting for control of that mid spinner a little bit. You can always go around as a more safe option to the right-hand side and take that ramp up. There, I think, is even still the box that allows you, if you time your jump well enough, to get right up under where the basket is going to be. So some heroic plays could definitely be made on a map like Museum de Alfonsino for Clan Blitz. And the way game one went, you know, it was very early and often for the side of WPI. They got their first push, I think, in 25 seconds, getting the basket open rather, and not really stopping from there. We saw Neptune and even one other member of WPI going back, kind of fight for clams while the rest of their team held down the fort or made sort of that front line. And Neptune has been very crafty. We've seen on both of the short range weapons that they've played, them kind of sneaking around and finding a way to get behind the enemy team, whether it's worked out or not. Comet Blasters will have to retain a good bit of sort of the defensively minded game that they played, but incorporating, I think, a bit of the early strategies that WPI did. So some teams like to play Rainmaker a bit more slowly. 2-3 minutes in is when we'll see the first push and first pop of the barricade. Not sure, Rissa, if that's the way it'll work out this time around.
Yeah, I'm very curious too, like you were highlighting that we started with Clan Blitz. You know, is it going to be, again, that Grizzco is just really good at Clan Blitz like they were on that initial Scorch Gorge game where they just really got the clams they needed to push forward, open up the basket and didn't hesitate? Or, you know, maybe was it a little bit more map dependent? Maybe they were really good in particular on that map and mode. And as we head into a different map here for Clan Blitz, which is Museum like we were talking about, you know, that'll really come to play to show us if it is mode dependent or a map and mode dependent in particular for Grizzco.
Well, and definitely the individual battles taking place in addition to the team battle in Game 3. That was really highlighted by the multiple duels that we saw between Neptune and Seekant. They feel kind of like the tips of the respective spears for each of their teams, helping the charge, kind of getting those picks, and also providing the support when they're being ambushed or beset upon. I think it really does help. An underrated facet of the game is not just manufacturing the offensive pushes, but finding offense when you're on the back foot, when you are playing from a defensive perspective. How do you not kind of shrink back into your own? You can give some space, sure, to make sure that you're playing within your weapon's optimal ranges, that you're playing where a teammate can help to clean up a pick if you're not able to secure one yourself, especially for the skirmisher of your team. But that defensive mindset is just as important as making sure you're pushing it at the right time. A lot of teams, of course, waiting for multiple picks, 3 or 4 down if they can possibly get it, before really committing to a push. But there are some teams that kind of just force the obstacle there. And if they have, in this game mode, the power clam, they're going to find any way to get through, whether it's just by layering in their specials or by having someone sneak around and then jump to them with maybe 7 clams and having another teammate throw them that 8th clam to kind of surprise the enemy team and then figure out the rest of it later. Maybe not have the highest amount of clams at the start, not wait until you have in the 20s in terms of your clam count to push forward. As soon as you have the prospects to put together a power clam, kind of throwing in whatever specials you have to make it work and just keep the enemy team constantly having to play within their own zone.
Yeah, I feel like some of the best Clam Blitz pushes that you get to see are, you know, ones that start out where it's like you see, oh, okay, they made a power clam. Okay, they were able to get to the basket and score in that power clam. And then you think, oh, okay, watching this, they don't necessarily have any more clams. Maybe they only have one special to follow up that initial push. And then next thing you know, it's just in a blink of an eye. Suddenly, there's tri-strikes ready. There's a bubble ready. There's all of a sudden someone comes up with another power clam, and then someone follows up that with all these other clams that they were able to collect. You know, if you're the team that's against that, you're not. You look at that too, not only from the viewer perspective that we're seeing, but as the other team, you're like, oh, they don't have any specials, they don't have any clams to follow this up. Suddenly, next thing you know, they're getting 40 points on the board there, and you couldn't even really react to it because it happened so fast. I feel like those are some of my favorite Clam Blitz pushes that you see, the ones that you're not expecting, and they just play out beautifully in front of your eyes.
And to your point, it takes precision. It takes conscious thinking to kind of obfuscate the fact that you almost have two power clams online, because when you make a power clam, you're visible to the enemy team. So kind of saving it, maybe holding on to two teammates with 7, and then throwing something together last minute can really work out. We have game 4 ready for you here on Museum de Alfonsino, taking a look at the compositions. We have the Wiper coming back. We have Seekant as well, still on those Tetra Dualies on the opposite side of things, more akin to what we saw from game 1 from WPI. And if it ain't broke, Rissa, don't fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. This must be, something they're familiar with for Clam Blitz in particular. Gart there on that brush. I remember seeing them a lot coming into play in that first Clam Blitz match that we saw here. And Neptune, we've seen them switch around the weapons. They are going to be on now the Spartan shot this time around, so that is going to be their weapon of choice to play aggressively. As we were analyzing everything here initially too, it's a bloodbath here in mid. It's back and forth, scrappy picks happening left and right. Neither team really is able to get the big control that they want to get a push in, so it's not going to be as fast of a push that we saw in that first Clam Blitz game, but slowly Grizzco is the team that is getting the upper hand, gets a complete wipe, and they just need to get the clams in here to start a push.
Yeah, WPI able to find the wipeout. It feels like they've had one every game. There's a second facilitated by the 2-for-1 from who else but Neptune on the Trizuka. Not able to throw the 2 remaining clams that they had in, but it was well worth it. Frosto looking to see if they can provide support, but as they are the last one remaining, they back up to allow any teammates that want to jump to them back into mid to see if they can hold on to that. We've forecast that there would be kind of an early push here. It's a minute 15, minute 20 in, and we already see WPI up to 65, and they're not relenting. They get 3 down as Seekant falls in an odd man rush, and now WPI pushing forward, seeing if they can keep it going. Some resilience here from Comet Blasters. They do get out the 10 missiles and are losing at members, still backed off by the 10 missiles, and another early break on the basket by WPI.
Yeah, WPI able to consistently hold up the pressure under Comet Blaster's basket. And now with 3 members going down, just Gart was left alive there for a bit, able to run around as that brush. They were able to stay in mid, kind of run around, act as a nuisance while it just delayed some time for their teammates to come back into mid. Comet Blasters, we've been seeing them on that defense a lot. So with having this power clam ready, they're able to slowly start funneling into this right side. But you gotta be careful there. I have a feeling that Gart there was able to flank around, follow around that push that they had going, and now just kind of completely shut down the momentum that Comet Blasters had.
Yeah, Gart perhaps undervalued for also the ability to kind of get behind the members of Comet Blasters and get some things going, but they're losing members. Comet Blasters, it looks like they finally had something. There was 3 down forced against WPI, and now they've gotten their 3rd wipeout of the game, slowly putting together that power clam. They waited until they had an advantage here for Colombo to build it up, and now is going to break that obstacle there. Not as big of a penalty this time, so they get immediately down to 52. Finally, it's wipes galore. I think that's the 4th one on the board. Yet again, sending a couple members back to fish for Clams. Frosta on the Slosher being one of the only members remaining to try and lock things down. Neptune trying to use that box, but Neptune not able to quite make it work there. You kind of want to do the leap of faith when you can and get right under that basket, but it's not work out. Marissa, they are in fact performing this kind of way of 1,000 cut strategy in order to poke down Comet Blasters in game 4.
Yeah, they really are. They're just consistently pushing in and getting these big pushes and, you know, holding down that momentum. It seems like as soon as Comet Blasters starts to get momentum, like we're seeing here, they're pushing forward. They use the tri-strikes. They were starting to try and push in with their specials. Grizz coworkers, great job on the defense from them. They were able to back up, and it seems like they keep sending Gart on that brush around to flank through mid, and that is really one of the big factors that's shutting down what Comet Blasters is doing. And speaking of Gart on that brush, I think Gart was able to push around the flank, and they decided, hey, you know what? No one's at the basket. Let's just go ahead and score in this clam. We were able to make a power clam score in that basket, and now as Gart is point censored, Comet Blasters is really having to make sure that they keep an eye on that.
We really shouldn't be surprised at this point, but we constantly are by the way that WPI is able to get push after push after push. Nice two-piece there from Frosta as Astrid and Dog go down. I have to feel for April, who's been playing those hammer weapons this entire set, and it feels like hasn't been able to land the throws that they were looking for, even going down sometimes as a result. But they've built one back up already, 6 clams to their name, gets the pick there on the guard, and this could be the redemption arc that they're looking for. They're going to pass the clam over, the power clam goes away. Can they push forward here? They're backed up by the tri-strike, but it's the 10 missiles that are going to lock them away. The first push coming out for Comet Blasters, that's 2 power clams in the basket. Astrid supporting with the Trizuka. They will fall, but they'll get the pick on the Dog here. It's effectively a 2v2. Neptune, however, winning the engagements and playing that defensive role for WPI. April desperately trying to keep the push going in overtime, but it's not enough. WPI, despite some late resistance from Comet Blasters, will secure the win on both the game and the set against Comet Blasters.
Ooh, really good job there at the end from Comet Blasters, trying to put a push together, having the Tetra jump in last minute, having, I think that was April there, push around with Seekins jump in that tried to get in and hold more space so that way they could score in the clams, but it was just a little too late for that. And great job consistently throughout that set from Grizz co-workers. They were just doing a good job throughout that entire set of just keeping constant pressure like we talked about throughout that.
And I have to admire sort of the late resilience and sort of comeback effort that we saw from Comet Blasters, doing a great job in that game 3. Again, even before the disconnect happened, I felt like they were the team that was playing stronger, had that great early push on Rainmaker. But WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, will be moving on. Their opponent for the semifinals had been decided since the start. The first seeded in the Master or Silver bracket, Drexel Dragon Splatoon, had a bye in the first round and has been waiting for their opponent. It is confirmed to be WPI, so they will take each other on in the semifinals. On the opposite side of the bracket, Death Roll, representing, I believe, the University of Florida, gets the win, also 3-1 over their opponent, H-Town Rebels, and they are awaiting the winner of EAUCD Banana Split and Triton Splatoon, who currently holds a 2-1 lead in this set over EAUCD Banana Split, despite being the 7th seed compared to the 2 seed. So we've just witnessed the 5 take down the 4. We may see more than one upset in our quarterfinals. Set us up, Rissa, for the next round.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. As soon as you said it, I saw that Banana Split versus Triton Splatoon. Banana Split being the 2nd seed, Triton Splatoon being the 7th seed. So seeing that Triton Splatoon is up 2-1 over the 2nd seed is actually very cool. I'm sure that set is very close. So yeah, cool. It's always great when you're watching the bracket and you get to see slowly as the teams come up through the bracket on the stream, knowing that they were able to beat a seed that's higher than them.
Well, and we talked, I think after game 1, about some of the stats that were put up on the board by WPI. We talked about the 20 bomb dropped by Neptune. How about a 21 bomb with 4 assists? But that's not even the largest KAD of the day. Frosta coming in, I think they may have been the one that DC'd in game number 3, comes back on the slosher and is able to do 23 and 5 with 3 tri-strikes used in that game. 2nd most specials on their team, only behind Colombo playing that flings a roller and getting off 4 10 missiles. That was important in backing off the members of Comet Blasters when we were watching that overtime push. It really was the 10 missiles that stopped that resilience and the resistance there after the power clam went in from any more clams dropping into the basket. So shout out to kind of the balance that members of WPI Grizz co-workers Union have. It should be a very interesting matchup as they take on the number 1 seeded Drexel Dragons next.
Yeah, also when you highlighted the missiles there, that's always, as a player, that's one of the worst things is you're getting the momentum, say you're pushing in a power climb, and then all of a sudden you get missiled or a bubble pops up where you're trying to push. It's just like, oh my gosh, that just can totally ruin any momentum that you had. So we got to see that a lot from Colombo, like you said. And that's just one of those things. It's also interesting, I feel like in Splatoon 3, specials, like the way that those specials, the numbers aren't as big as they were in Splatoon 2, so a lot of the plays here have to come out from the players as individuals. They have to use their mechanics, and that really highlights too, as you were talking about the KDAs there from Grizzco.
That does make me wonder, as a player, what are your kind of top 3 least favorite specials that you want to go up against? Like the 3 that when you see them either come out or you see them on the enemy composition, you're like, oh my god, I really don't want to deal with this right now.
Good question. I feel like it's always changing with the way that the meta is changing. It seems like the meta in Splatoon 3 in particular is constantly just moving around, and it's just, all over the place. Currently, though, if you're up against someone who is really good at Zuka or really good at Hammer, or even for some reason within the past couple weeks, as that new Dualies has come out, Bubble 2 can be really, really tricky. All those things can really just shut down what you were doing. The bubble, you think, oh, okay, it can't necessarily, kill me or make me go down, but the teammates, if they play around that bubble good, they'll just jump in the bubble, shoot at you, and you're done for.
I think previously too, you had talked about the quick thinking that's required to play at this level, and Bubbler is kind of a cheeky. I really like that example because it's cheeky in the way that it takes, you kind of have this plan in your head and you're trying to make that plan work, and then you see a big bubble come up and it kind of halts your brain's current process, and you have to think on the fly, how am I going to get around this? Some teams use 1 or 2 specials to get the bubble down very quickly. Others just try and play in and out of the bubble, which obviously is going to be defender sided. It's going to be sided on the player that popped the big bubbler. So they're always going to have that advantage, especially if they're playing a shorter range weapon or a weapon. You talked about the dualies with high mobility. So it is a nice little, I think, example that isn't probably spotlighted enough. I think Zuka, that's kind of a given with the exceptional range that it has. We saw a great 2-for-1 on one of those Try-Zuka shots in the last game we spectated. That is something where you see that and go, well, dang, I was perfectly lined up for that shot. What else am I going to do? But for the big bubbler, it takes sort of rewiring your brain almost to say, how am I going to either play around this or take it down as quickly as I can? And to your point as well, with all the new weapons that have come about with the update 10.0, there's a whole suite of new weapons where you may not have had to deal with a weapon that had that extent of range, whether it's longer range or shorter range, that had that special online. And so it makes folks who have known, sort of the most recent meta, you talk about how the meta is ever changing, you now have this new meta coming online to say, okay, how do I deal with a weapon like the Splattershot Pro Frozen? How do I deal with a weapon like the new Rapid Blaster that can build up the Tactical, or even the new Mini that is basically a Try-Zuka farming machine? The Try-Zuka is essentially its main weapon. So lots of questions that I think are still being worked out by the community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen that throughout the past 2-3 weeks or so, not only as a player but as a commentator too. It's been fun kind of watching the meta try and fluctuate to what it's going to be. Like initially about 3 weeks ago, it was like, okay, everyone, let's run double Zuka, make sure that you're playing that new Mini, because it can just constantly farm Zukas with the way that it's able to paint really, really well. And then suddenly it became, everyone is playing the new Pro and utilizing the range that the Pro has, and missiles are suddenly prevalent again, and they're, suddenly in the meta. But now, as it's, again, it seems like every week it's changed. Suddenly I'm seeing, bubblers come out on that new dualies. Before it would be like, oh, okay, it's a junior that popped the bubble. You can just run into the bubble and, get that pick onto them because they're not necessarily a weapon that's good at killing. But if a dualie pops that bubble instead, what I'm seeing is the dualie itself can fight for itself, unlike the junior. So they're not only popping that bubble and it's slowing down that momentum that you had going forward, it also can fight for itself and sit in the bubble or around the bubble and just poke at you and pick you off like that too.
And I think, you know, a lot of folks, when those weapons came out, the speculation hasn't always lived up to reality. We haven't seen it today, but I take the Hoofs Dually Squelchers as an example where people saw that kit and they said, this is the worst kit of all time. Nobody's going to run this. You know, it has point sensor and splatter color screen. This is a horrendous combination. And I've seen it a decent bit, a lot more than I think folks were originally anticipating. And even in tier lists, you know, it was in sort of the mid to sort of upper mid portion of the tier list, not quite up there with things like that mini Splatling Rattler we were talking about or the Frozen. But it's held its own, and it's surprising. It's not kind of the immediate home run that maybe some weapons like the new Splatana Stamper were, where people saw the kit and say, oh, Splatana Stamper has never gotten a bad kit. Stamper players are really spoiled for choice because they have 3 great weapons to choose from. And the dust hasn't really, it felt like, settled yet on what the meta in the West is. And I'm excited to see how folks sort of find new ways to make those weapons work in various compositions. And even the players that, you know, they stick to the tried and true known weapons. The Slosher is an example. The, you know, Splatter Shot, the various versions of that is an example where those are kind of going to always be prevalent unless they take some kind of drastic hit in an upcoming patch. You know, it's very, very strong to play regardless of what else you pair it with. And so as we wait for the winner of our next match to come about, it is now 2-2. So EAUCD forcing that game 5 against Triton Platoon. Very interested to see which one comes out of it to play Death Roll. We'll take a look, I guess, at Death Roll first, knowing sort of that they are going to be in that semifinals for sure. You know, they have been Division 1. They've placed second twice in CCA League Division 1, once in Season 6 and once in the Circuit. They also placed third place in Season 4 Division 3. And again, we're looking at 5 years worth of history. So some of these teams are either at their prime right now or they are trying to live some of their glory days again. And so with a team like Death Roll, who's pretty well known, I believe, in CCA, making it to the semifinals, excited to see if either of these two teams that are locked in sort of that 2-2 deadlock right now can take that Cinderella story away from the members of Death Roll.
Yeah, I'm looking at Death Roll's roster as well. Nitro, Nico Chico, Oculus, B3. You know, we were talking a little bit about this as we started this stream here for the silver bracket, but like, I haven't commentated CCA. However, I do know a lot of the players individually throughout the scene, not necessarily in the collegiate sphere, but as players playing, you know, maybe in Ludi or, you know, whatever tournament, whether it's together or as individuals. So these players in particular, Nitro, Nico Chico, Oculus, B3, you know, I've seen them around. So getting to see them representing Collegiate here, I think is really cool, especially since they already have so much history. They've placed well previously. And of course, this is the best of the best coming to play today. So, I mean, that there says it all too.
And Rissa, we're back in a position where, you know, we have that strikeout system coming on board. Again, for those of you who are just joining or didn't get to hear the explanation before, for the bracket stage, it's 7 pre-made map mode combinations, but it's only a best of 5. So how do you pare those down? The 2 teams each get to strike out a map and mode of their choice. The higher seed first. So if EAUCD Banana Split wins that game 5, they will have the honor of picking first which one they want to strike out. If Triton Splatoon, who is the 7th seed, goes on to take on Death Roll, who's the 3rd seed, Death Roll will have the honors in that respect. But what we have available is TC Inkblot, Rainmaker Undertow. Rissa and I were talking about maps and modes that, you know, you only really see 1 or maybe 2 modes on. I feel like Undertow is kind of one of those where you only get Rainmaker there. And Triton is going to be the team that wins the game 5, we're just told. So that will be another upset in the quarterfinals. That will be Triton Splatoon moving on to the semis, and that will be Death Roll getting to pick first. So they have TC Inkblot, Rainmaker Undertow, Glamblitz Eeltail, which Eeltail is another map that we don't see a ton of. Splat Zones, Barnacle and Dime, TC Shipshape, Rainmaker Scorch Gorge, and finally Glamblitz also on Barnacle and Dime to choose from. Rissa, any thoughts on what might get struck out from that list or anything that you're excited to see?
Honestly, I'm really not sure. This is kind of one of those things where going into it, I love watching the initial game, no matter what the map or mode is, just to see, okay, this is how this team is going to play, or, oh, this team is going to play, you know, really aggressively, or this team's really going to utilize their specials to play and win that way. So I just love going into the first game and seeing for one, what weapons each team is playing, and then two, you know, what the play style is off of those weapons. And you know, it's nice if the first mode is splat zones, I feel like, because it's a little bit more of a neutral mode. But regardless of the map and mode, it's nice just taking that first game, no matter what it is, to get a feel for what you're about to watch in the match.
Yeah, to your point, I think it sets up kind of the most equivalent understanding of what's going to happen in the rest of the game. If you start with maybe a Clam Blitz or a Rainmaker like we did in the last set, we started with Clam Blitz, you don't maybe always get the exact perspective of what's going to happen if you take it to a more neutral mode. Triton Splatoon, their members DRF, Mohugami, Azenpoke, Brian, who may be on a different name as far as visually, and Kaiju making up that roster coming off a hotly contested Game 5 in a best of 5 series. So they are going to have no rest as they take on Death Roll. Some facts about them: returning to play, haven't really played in the recent years, but they were around for CCA March Madness back in March of 2021, where they placed second and also participated in the first ever collegiate match in Ludi, beating ITAP to secure the win. So another team that's kind of coming back to honor the tradition and the 5-year history, I believe, of the CCA in general. Very much looking forward to seeing how these two teams take each other on. I guess from a map mode perspective, I always like to see some of the constants that we see from a tournament perspective. Rainmaker, Undertow, and TC Inkblot fall into that category, so I would not be surprised if those are not stricken from the record. It is going to go in order, so if those two are not taken away, those will be the first two map and modes that we're going to see. Clam Blitz Eeltail, kind of a head scratcher in the sense that you really do not see Eeltail in any perspective in many tournaments. So I'm definitely interested to see kind of another linear map like a Manta Maria, but you don't have the benefit of sort of the width of the left and right hand side, at least in the middle portion of Manta Maria. It is basically just a straight line all the way through.
Yeah, I haven't seen that map and mode played actually in a while in competitive. So I'm sitting here thinking about the way that you play that, and that one I feel like can just snowball. I mean, of course, any map and mode can snowball, but that one in particular, I mean, if you get the momentum, you can easily just grab that Rainmaker, run it through the top, and just dunk it if the rest of your teammates are just pressuring the other team. So that one definitely snowbally. It'd be, you know, even though I don't necessarily see it played a lot, it's fun to see some things that are a little bit different every now and then too.
Yeah, and I love the inclusion too. It's interesting to see the same map, you know, put forward in the same set potentially. Although if it did stay, it would be the 5th game if we got that far, with Barnacle and Dime, Clam Blitz being the last possible option, and then Splat Zones also available. I think Splat Zones I maybe more see a little bit. We actually do have now the final set list here, so we are going to be starting with TC Inkblot Art Academy, known as kind of that tournament mainstay, moving on to Splat Zones, Barnacle, and Dime. So we will see if we go to Game 5, Barnacle and Dime twice here, and we are going to go as our last guaranteed map mode combination to Tower Control on Shipshape Cargo Coast. So we're going to see Tower Control guaranteed twice in the first 3 games, which means we eliminated Clam Blitz Eeltail Alley, so we will not get to see that one, but also Rainmaker on Undertow Spillway. So getting rid of those two, very interesting, getting rid of kind of the more, as we described them, hectic or crazy game modes in favor for a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, good point to bring up. These are definitely the ones that we see here on the screen. These maps and modes are, you know, a lot more steady. You have time to regroup if your team needs it. If you need to play defense, you have time to think about things a little bit more than the 2 banned map and modes. Those ones you really can get super, super scrappy. If you are not on your game, they can definitely snowball really, really fast. So going into Tower Control Inkblot Art Academy, a classic map and mode. Ever since Splatoon 2, it's always great to see this, just because I feel like we're all in the community so familiar with it. We're familiar with what you need to be doing, and we're familiar with what can go wrong too. So it's nice watching that, especially in this first game, like we were talking about, the game in particular, that you want to be a little bit more of a neutral map and mode. That way you can really figure out what each team is doing.
Yet not dissimilar from the earlier tower control on a Hagglefish map we saw, in that the first checkpoint feels like oftentimes it's the hardest. It's kind of on this map tucked between two walls, so you have to really play carefully around it. It basically cuts off two of your potential escape paths. You can either go left or right, or try and get on sort of the boxes that are set up behind the tower as well. But oftentimes see those Booyah bombs or tri-strikes or even Zukas used right in that area, and then it opens up a little bit as we get forward. But we're ready for game number 1 between Death Roll and Triton Splatoon in the semifinals of our Master or Silver bracket. Taking a look at the weapons here, the Tri-Slosher Nouveau sticks out as the tactical or weapon of choice coming out from DRF. On the opposite side of things, 2 new weapons, Rissa, in the Splattershot Pro Frozen, as well as another tactical or weapon, that being the new Rapid Blaster Pro.
It's interesting initially as you're highlighting those weapons. The 2 tactical weapons here aren't necessarily classic tactical weapons like the Zap or the Pencil. So that's kind of cool to see, and we'll get to see how those tacticulars really play out here. As Stubert here talking about tacticular, it's like they heard us talking about it. Using that tacticular there on the tower, the team from Death Roll there juggling the tower together to get through that first checkpoint as they are cool enough.
We want to talk about weapons you haven't seen in a hot minute. The regular Luna Blaster, in fact, any variant of Luna Blaster is a rare sight to see. This one sporting, I believe, the Splat Bomb and Zipcaster as available as they try and get on top of the tower here. Nobody close enough to the tower to really pick off, but that's going to benefit Triton Splatoon, who's trying to mitigate this push. A double there, and that exhibits why the Luna Blaster can be so deadly up close. Another 2-for-1 as Death Roll, despite claiming the lead, will go 3 down.
Yeah, I like it. We're talking about these things, and then, I was talking about Cooler. Suddenly we get to see the Cooler in action. And then you were talking about the Luna. We saw that Luna in action too. I like when that happens as a viewer. So there goes DRF utilizing the Cooler now from that Tri-Slosher. And with 2 members down on Death Roll, this could be a big push for Triton Splatoon. Remember, they just came off of a win, winning 3-2, going to a game 5 against the 2nd seed, and they are the 7th seed. So I have a feeling they're warmed up and they have some momentum going, as they are now the team that's able to get past the first checkpoint.
It's like the opposite of a commentator's curse. It's like a commentator's prediction almost, to see it come to fruition, really, which doesn't happen often in a positive sense. But I think for the players we were spectating, both of those being positive events, as there is yet again that aforementioned tactical or Nia trying to take the Ink Rail up to join Ontos, gets the splat with the Crab Tank, looking for a second. They'll find it on Mufugami, looking to break down the Crab Tank. They'll content themselves with trading armor for armor, essentially, as the Luna Blaster going to clean up another. Waits the perfect time, gets multiple jump-ins there, and you can see just the beauty and precision of the Luna Blaster that's not often exhibited in high-level competitive play. Great job to lock it down, and now trying to see if they can get more with the Zipcaster.
Yeah, I love utilizing the Zipcaster there. They push forward. As Death Roll was coming out of their spawn, they were trying to, use the momentum that they had as they were all coming out together to push back into mid. And then suddenly there's a Zipcaster in their spawn. Zipcaster, though, unfortunately for them, did get called out. And now Death Roll here, again, has control of mid. This seems very back and forth so far as we're really sitting here trying to analyze what's going on. One team or the other is getting control of mid, pushing forward, and then it happens back and forth. And we're consistently kind of stuck at this second checkpoint area for each team as they're trying to, be the team that gets that momentum to push further.
Well, and to your point, mirroring each other in terms of the placements that they're going to. We saw a Crab Tank pop right around or just after that first checkpoint. That happened when Death Roll took their first push. We saw some placement on sort of that top left where the Ink Rail is. We see the Triton Splatoon go 3 down. Just the dualies remaining. They're going to back off and allow Death Roll to try at an extension of their push. Oculus even getting on top of this hard installment. It's going to give them a great visibility. Azenpoke not able to even see that one coming. Going to expend finally the Penta missiles as they go down. They'll combine that with the Tri-Strike to see if they can get something going, but it's just going to be 3 down for Death Roll. They will hang on to their Crab, importantly, so I think that was, who's going to go and be able to use that in the next push. They'll use it early as they have the high ground here. Not able to find anything quite yet, but use it while you got it, and they have the lead, so they're trying to keep Triton Splatoon backed up sort of in this mid area as we pass the minute remaining mark.
They're utilizing that Crab. I think they were in a position where it was like, okay, maybe if I use this Crab now, one of my teammates coming back will get their special as well, and then they can move to chain it off of my crab. But it did work out well for them. Even though they have members go down, they're able to at least slow down the tower there from Triton Splatoon. Triton Splatoon, though, even though they don't have the lead, they're doing a great job at holding mid-tier DRF on this Tri-Slosher, trying to hold down that left stack. Is called out by multiple members of Death Roll. Death Roll here. It seems like the thing they're doing well, Death Roll, is they're playing really well together. They're making sure that they look at the same things. They're making sure that they make those team plays, and having that type of synergy can be really, really detrimental to things like this.
We're in the final 5 or so seconds here. Deathroll still with the lead, trying to see if they can lock the members of Triton off the tower. They do have the tri-strike for it. Is anybody able to hang on? It looks like somebody did. It's the 2v2 essentially. Ontos is going to fall, and it looks like with Deathroll keeping things locked down and Triton Splatoon members desperately, but unfortunately unable to reach the tower. That will be an early Game 1 victory for Deathroll, but going to that overtime, hopefully a sign of things to come and giving us a nice and longer set, maybe going as far as that Game 5.
I feel like not only, the score that we saw in that game, it was off by maybe, 20 points consistently, and it seemed like constantly we were talking about how it was back and forth. Each team would be at the second checkpoint, but then all of a sudden the other team was at the second checkpoint, and it just kept happening back and forth. So I feel like we're in for a treat here, as this hopefully is a very back and forth match.
Yeah, I love your mention, too, of the tactical or weapons. We've not yet seen really a pencil or a heavy edit. I think even in the, before we started casting on the YouTube side of things in the Swiss rounds, we even saw the other version of the heavy edit that I think has Splat Bomb and Crab Tank, if I remember correctly, not the regular heavy edit. So I'm loving the weapon variety here. We've seen a Luna Blaster already. We've seen the new Ghoulies come out. So it's been nice to take a look at just the plethora of weapons that are available to these players. And as we look to get ready for now Splat Zones, another one of those consistent sort of games, and especially with Barnacle and Dime being a map with great visibility, it allows you to see basically all the way through to the opponent's side if you've got good visibility. It's a pretty large one zone map. It's got, I think, just that little obstacle in the middle to kind of break things up, but really any types of weapons feel like they can succeed here. Rather, you even have the kind of miniature moats or alleyways that are behind that low wall behind each of the zone areas. So should be interesting to see if we do see change-ups from the weapon loadouts. I know in the last set that we commentated, we had a team that would change things up pretty much regardless of if they won or not, and another team that kind of stayed pretty consistent. Rissa, let's see what happens in game number 2.
Headed into game number 2, Splat Zones on Barnacle and Dime, taking a look initially at these comps coming out from Triton Splatoon and Death Roll. I am the only I was gonna say I'm not seeing any major switch ups, but if you look over on the side of, I believe that is Triton Splatoon, yes, they have a junior, and actually the other variant of the Luna this time around that's gonna be able to utilize Fizzy Bombs, and I believe is that range that Luna Blaster has?
It is Ultra Stamp. So we got to see, I think in our last set, April using some of those Ultra Stamps on a variety of weapons. This, yet another weapon that you don't see a ton of in competitive play as these two teams jockey for control of the zone. Neither one having firm grip over it. Both pack coolers going down as well on their respective sides. Death Roll looking to see if they can get their Rapid Blaster into a space where they can poke away. That is what this blaster does best. It does not one-shot with a direct, although we'll see a great one there from Okugami to secure a splat. And with a couple members going down, I think the Ultra Stamp is the last thing that we're going to have surviving on the side of Triton Splatoon. They are able to pick off one, but they're kind of way away from the zone. It does work, however, as they're able to avenge their fallen teammates and claim the zone. And Triton Splatoon looking much better than in game 1.
They are. They're really set up. They not only had control of the zone, but they're pushed up here as we're seeing the Luna Blaster from Triton Splatoon pushing up, poking the ledges, doing exactly what you want to be doing as a blaster, and they're able to just keep space under that drop, get another pick while they're at it. With just the junior left alive, though, that junior is almost acting as an anchor, a short-range anchor for them as they're able to get jump in from Triton Splatoon. So they weren't actually pushed all the way back into their spawn from Death Roll. they're still able to hold a lot of this space on the right side of the map and, keep contesting the zone right away.
And that's the point, isn't it? Everything on Triton Splatoon is a short-range weapon, so something in theory has to be your anchor role, unless you're just completely foregoing one. But they're all short-range, so it's very counterintuitive to what we normally see out of anchor players. Triton Splatoon with a great defensive spot as well as they come back and reclaim the zone, only giving up around 15 or so points on the side of Deathroll, who is able to get the zone back, so pretty hefty penalty on the side of Triton Splatoon. And now maybe this is where Deathroll is able to lock things down. 3 of their 4 weapons have mid to long range capabilities here, so are you able to prevent Triton Splatoon from getting out? You have 3 main options, left, middle, right, and you can see just how much Deathroll is tracking each of those 3 to see if they can get those shots off. However, Splattershot Pro is going to fall, and multiple specials now, the Inkzuka and the Ultra Stamp coming out from Triton Splatoon. That is going to force a retreat on the side of Deathroll, so they're coming all the way back to the backside of their zone, but this zone, Rissa, is large enough where that is not going to relent full control.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. They definitely are able to at least safely back up and have the space that they need to keep controlling the zone on the side of Deathroll. So they weren't pushed back all the way in their spawn. They're still here on this right side of the map, controlling the space that they need. The zone has switched over to Triton Splatoon's side, but with Deathroll not letting go of the space that they have, they almost kind of let Triton Splatoon come into them. They gave up the zone purposefully in a way, and it really just allowed them to hold space and make sure that they poked at anyone from Triton Splatoon that tried to come in. And now with just 1 member left alive on Triton Splatoon and penalty points continuing to count down for Deathroll, they're doing a good job at watching that. What happened here? Was this a flank round that now has jump ins? Excuse me?
Oh my god, and yeah, the great splat bomb as well. It feels like despite the drastically different ranges on these 2 weapon compositions, they're playing a similar game. It's a very splat-heavy composition. There's not a ton of just like waiting around and trying to get these massive group team fights. They're just getting whatever pick they can get at any time, and they are flying by the seat of their pants, moving a mile a minute as we see the Pentimus go out. It's going to track 3 targets there on Triton Splatoon, the Inkzuka, and the Ultra Stamp once again being combined as Deathroll's able to take the lead. That's going to be a couple going down and a Hail Mary thrown out as the Ultra Stamp falls. It's going to be down to 3 before Triton Splatoon is able to stop that full control, but the Splash-O-Matic doing everything in their power to get the zone back, and it is enough as Deathroll holds off a huge start from Triton Splatoon to keep their perfect set and take game 2.
They definitely had a hill to climb there initially, as Triton Splatoon did have such a strong lead there, and they were able to hold on. They really did a great job at completely locking out Triton Splatoon. It seemed like Triton multiple times had, pretty good pushes at coming out of their spawn, but it just really, like I was kind of highlighting in the middle of that, it seemed like they just did not let Triton Splatoon come in and push past the zone. They kind of gave up the zone there for a little bit, but then really just let the members of Triton Splatoon play into them and let them come to them. And just as soon as they did that, suddenly they were just using their mechanics, like you said, and just getting the picks that they needed and just not letting Triton Splatoon move at all.
Yeah, I can't remember, other than this game, ever seeing a Barnacle and Dime game feel like it was being played on Humpback Pump Track instead, where they're just kind of going in circles around each other. They're like swimming through the proverbial moat, trying to find any cheeky way that they can get a pick. We saw more like splat bomb picks and other flanking picks, and even just the yeeting of the Ultra Stamp, as it were, to try and find anybody that they could until one team finally had the edge. They were just kind of playing ring around the rosy on the zone or using the area behind the low walls to see if they could get those picks, until finally one team was locked in their spawn for the time being until they got a pick, and then the process started all over again. So very odd but fun game number 2 does end with Deathroll retaining their lead and going up 2-0. That is going to push Triton Splatoon to the brink, as this is single elimination best of 5. And now we are going to move on to tower control yet again. Different format here. We saw it in game 1. We're seeing it again in game 3. This time, though, going over to Ship Shape Cargo Co.
Ooh, okay. Ship shape, excuse me, this time for tower control. This one, okay, we're gonna head right in here. I was like getting ready, I was thinking about the map itself, really kind of analyze. I was trying to fast analyze the map and these 2 teams and how they would play it. But we're headed right into the match here, and you know, as I'm saying that I'm thinking about it, suddenly Death Roll has 2 blasters now on its side as we see that S blast come out from Ontos. I think that's going to be really, really crucial and helpful for them here. And then on the other side, Triton Splatoon actually getting rid of the 1 blaster that they have had on their team.
Yeah, I think in a previous game you had mentioned the idea of kind of a GG Booyah Bomb, and the S blast, at least for a while, if it's not now, was kind of the premier weapon for that. It became the sort of premier blaster and premier Booyah Bomb weapon for a while, competing with things like the various range blasters and even the regular blaster that's really come out as you kind of talked about, Rissa, the advent of the big bubbler in play, but it's an early and huge start for Triton Splatoon once again, picking right where they left off from game 2's start. So maybe that's just the specialty of Triton Splatoon. They're running another short range composition, but this time stopped just after the halfway point, getting down to 49.
Yeah, they are now having to regroup in their spawn as 2 specials already from Death Roll, so they have that strike and that Booyah Bomb ready. And as they were doing a good job at taking that mid space that they needed, Ontos here having to kind of use this Booyah Bomb to stall out some time as 2 members of their team go down. We can see that Triton Splatoon is doing a great job at coming back into mid and not getting pressured too much by Death Roll. They're right back in the action here as we're seeing this aggressive. It was a 1v1, now it's a 1v2, and mid is slowly turning blue again, and Triton Splatoon's, I think, you know, doing a great job here.
Yeah, this is a rough composition, I have to imagine, to go up against if you're being beset upon right in your face while wielding a rapid blaster. It's just so hard to get those flicks that you want. Mofugami having to back up. They're around the tactical, are not really able to do much about it. They're backed up by the triple ink strike and then beset upon by a teammate there. Death Roll feeling free to push forward here, getting to that first checkpoint. I have a feeling nobody on Triton Splatoon with their short range weapons are going to be able to contest that anytime soon. And that is kind of the downfall or pitfall of running a composition like this, is when you're winning, you're really winning and you can really defend pretty easily. But when you're losing, it can be super tough to find that footing again. Death Roll looks like they're on their way to retaking this lead.
Yeah, absolutely, as we see them now take the lead, and not only take the lead, but now they're chaining their specials nicely. There goes that the missiles, there goes the cooler as well, and they are at that checkpoint number 2 trying to get through that as well. So big points from them. They do have 2 members go down, but the remaining members are not giving up the space that they have. They're trying to stay on the tower best they can as Ontos uses that Booyah Bomb to keep holding space. They're doing a good job at using the Booyah Bomb to like consistently kind of stall out time and space for their teammates to follow up, and their teammates are doing a great job at recognizing that and getting right back in the action. So Death Roll here, still holding this area around the second checkpoint. Triton Splatoon, however, doing a good job at the defenses. They're slowly surrounding that tower.
Yeah, they're almost playing this S-Blast 91 like the Luna Blaster, the multiple variants of it that we saw in the earlier games, just sitting under those walls and poking at anybody that might be trying to drop down. Another pretty meta weapon here, the 52 Gal, seeing if they can get anything done. DRF Sun trying to move forward. They're locking down this hallway, which is perfectly spaced to get trapped by the width of the splash wall. They're going to use another one here in mid and end up trading out with the Oculus. That was a splat bomb that they could not dodge as the tri-strike comes out from Death Roll. They're actually able to survive from Mofugami long enough to get all 3 of those shots off. However, it's not going to do the job they wanted of getting Triton Splatoon off of the tower. Stopped for the moment at 31. A couple members still surviving to see if they can keep this push going. Nobody really stays to jump into, though, which means reinforcements likely not going to be had. They're swimming as fast as they can, but Triton Splatoon unable to reclaim that lead.
Yeah, Triton Splatoon, they got so close, but just for Death Roll was able to collapse on that tower very, very fast to secure the lead still for themselves. We have about a minute remaining of this match. It's still looking really scrappy. I mean, I feel like that last game was definitely scrappy, and now, I mean, that's just really continuing. This is one of those matches that is just battle after battle, 1v1, 2v1s just constantly happening. And, you know, even though it's really, really scrappy, we still see specials come out here and there as well. They're playing nicely off of those as well. And I feel like that's really highlighting, you know, the state of Splatoon 3 right now. It's such a fast-paced game. We're seeing that really highlighted through both these teams. So headed into the last 20 seconds of this, Triton Splatoon really has to get it together if they want to get the lead.
Yeah, the fast-paced aspect of it also means they're not really holding on to their specials for long, at least the more offensively minded ones. You can see the junior only just now popping the bubble to try and get things going. DRF does have the tactical available, but they're playing the more offensive game, seeing if they can make sure somebody's on the tower. Kaiju getting on there with about 1 second remaining, and only now will DRF commit the tactical, or they're able to get it, but it actually, I think it's destroyed by the tower as it's moving forward. DRF tracked by the cannon missiles here. Are they able to get to this checkpoint? But no, they're stopped. Nobody on the tower. A great defense yet again from Death Roll, who claims the lead in the middle aspect of this game. Shades of game number 2, and a pretty consistent 3-0 sweep for Death Roll as they take it and move on to the silver bracket final.
Wow. Even though, you know, the score says 3-0, that was like a really fun set to watch. It seemed like both teams really, as we were talking about in the beginning of this, I really like to kind of figure out how teams' different play styles are. And these two teams almost, it seemed like, had similar play styles where they're just really aggressive, constantly just using specials, but pairing the specials well off of each other. And it seemed like watching the two of them, you know, 1v1 each other, or, you know, team fight each other, it was just very fun to see similar teams play against each other.
Yeah, to your point, a good example of how you could have the same strategy but run drastically different weapons, not just down to the range, but down to the kinds of specials that you want to layer in, things like Booyah Bomb versus Tri-Strike, or, you know, even I think Zipcaster versus something like the Trizuka there. So very fun to see them both kind of really go at each other in a more offensively minded type of game. Really a never say die attitude for both teams, and it showed in the way that their pushes worked out. There was nothing really super emphatic on the side of Death Roll that won them that set. It was just consistency in getting the larger lead throughout the way that we pushed it. So they have punched their ticket to the grand finals of our master or silver bracket, and they will be taking on Drexel Dragon Splatoon, who after a bye in the quarterfinals had no difficulty also sweeping through their semifinal opponent, that being the 5th seeded Worcester Polytechnic Institute Grisco Workers Union. So that will be the 3rd place match between WPI and Triton, and we will get to spectate our grand finals here, which will remain a best of 5. It'll stay with that strikeout system, so both of these teams will be soon getting into the lobbies and figuring out which map and mode they do not want to play on. But from Death Roll, looking forward to seeing how they go up against a team where I'm not sure if they're going to have a similar strategy or not. They were doing a great job in that match against Triton of really holding down against sort of very in-your-face momentum and strategy. Drexel, for all I know, may have something that's kind of mid to long range, or even more sort of meta-oriented. Only time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you weren't at the beginning of the stream watching, we got to see, so Drexel Dragon Splatoon, who we're about to watch, just played WPI Grisco Workers Union, and we got to watch Grisco Workers Union play on the stream initially here for the silver bracket, and they were absolutely doing such a good job. They were playing so well in that first set that we watched. So they were up against Drexel Dragon Splatoon, and Drexel Dragon Splatoon 3-0'd Grisco Workers Union. So just seeing that they 3-0'd a team that we already saw playing really good on the stream, I think says it all. And since you know, Drexel versus Grisco went 3-0, and the match that we just watched here on the stream, Triton Splatoon versus Death Roll, went 3-0 as well. Seeing two teams that went 3-0 in the set before that now playing at each other has gotta be, you know, leading up to something good, I feel like.
Yeah, both of these teams feeling very confident and doing very well in their respective semifinals games, which means the competition can only go up from here. And while we're on the subject of brackets and competition, we'll take a quick look at our doctorate or gold bracket and see how that has worked out. The final in that one is set as well as the #1 overall seed PSU Blue will take on the 7th seeded Arcali, that being the second of two teams playing from the University of Texas at Dallas today. Arcali made it into the doctorate or gold side of the bracket, and then we had the Comet Blasters, who we actually got to spectate in our first game on stream here over on the master or silver side. They lost 3-1 to the team that Rissa was talking about, WPI Grisco Workers Union, and then their opponent, Arcali, able to dispatch UC SD Esports Gold in the semifinals, and before that, Wiggler Ahoy 3-0 in round number 1. So excited to see how that works out. The third place match over on the gold side will be ITAP Inkling Technology at Purdue versus UCSD Esports Gold. And I wish them good luck, as well as the teams that will be playing in the third place match over on the Masters side, the silver bracket that we've been following, WPI versus Triton Splatoon. But Drexel should be interesting. They've only played 3 games of Splatoon in this bracket section. No matches in round number 1, and a quick 3-0 in the semifinals. Taking a look as well at some of the maps that we have available. Splat Zone's Umami Ruins, PC Museum d'Alfonsino, Rainmaker Manta Maria, Clam Blitz on Scorch Gorge, Splat Zone's Flounder Heights. That one was struck out, I believe, in the quarterfinals of the match that we got to watch, so another chance to see that one here in Grands. PC Hagglefish Market, and finally Rainmaker on Humpback Hump Track. Again, this will go all the way through in order outside of the 2 map and mode combinations that are struck or stricken from the record, and we are waiting to see what those are. In fact, we just now got them in. Drexel, as the number 1 overall seed, got to choose first, and they have taken out, of course, Splat Zones on Flounder Heights. Nobody in this tournament that we've seen so far too keen to play on Flounder Heights in any capacity. Death Roll getting rid of what would have been game number 5, the last possible map and mode combination, that being Rainmaker on Humpback Hump Track. So that will guarantee us, Rissa, that we start out with Splat Zones on Umami Ruins.
Ooh, okay. I love this map and mode myself. I don't know what it is about it. It's just like, I feel like it's one where I feel like I just typically kind of like map and modes where you don't get locked out, because I just hate that feeling of when you're trying to get back into the zone and the other team just really has that strong upper hand. This one is, you know, that can happen obviously, but this is one of the ones where I feel more confident in myself being able to get out of the spawn. So and of course, like I previously talked about, I love starting out on a Splat Zones map because it is that more stationary objective, and you're able to just get a feel for what the teams are going to be playing and how they're going to be playing against each other, instead of an objective that moves around like Rainmaker or Clam Blitz or Tower Control, where it can be a little bit more, you know, scrappy and fast-paced, whereas Splat Zones with that stationary objective, it's going to allow you time to really kind of look around the map, look around those zones, and see what's happening as a whole.
And it's the rare 2-zone map, right? Not only are there not many of them in the game, but a lot of them are not well liked or played often in a tournament setting. But Umami Ruins is kind of the exception. It is one that we pretty consistently see. In fact, I think this and Clam Blitz are really the only modes that I really ever see Umami Ruins played on in a competitive tournament setting. So to your point, starting out not just with the more neutral and even mode of Splat Zones, but also getting to see what these teams are about on a 2-zone map should make it very fun. We'll of course have Museum d'Alfonsino, this time for Tower Control. You usually see Museum for something like Rainmaker or for Clam Blitz. Pretty rare, honestly, that you get to see it for Tower Control. So that'll be a rare look into something that does not get to be exhibited often, and Rainmaker in game number 3. But let's get started with the silver bracket or Masters finals between Drexel Dragon Splatoon and Death Roll. Taking a look at the compositions here, we finally on stream get our first look at the Snipe Rider 5H, the pencil being played by Turple. We also have the new Splatana Stamper, and on the opposite side of things, a couple new weapons as well, that being that Rapid Blaster and the Splattershot Pro once again.
Wow, it's not often that you wait to see a pencil on the stream till the very last set that you get to watch. So that'll be great to see here, especially seeing how the way Death Roll has been playing that we previously saw on stream. They're playing really aggressively, as they didn't necessarily have that quote-unquote anchor roll. So getting to see how they play aggressively into that pencil will be fun, I think.
And they've gotten an early start here. Death Roll sort of not looking to relent any ground here as best they can. They are even using the 10 missiles, but it's not really going to prevent the members of Drexel from getting through. They filter around to this left-hand side and then go into mid. They're able to save this big bubbler right for the top of where they're able to get up. It's uninkable on the sides, but you're able to use the north and south end of it to get on top of the obstacle and help to really control space and maintain ground. They are stopped at 34. Big penalty given over, of course, from Deathroll, who's going to hold on to that lead for a while. Maybe a bit of an overextension here as Deathroll, Stubert, you can see, trying to hold things down with the help of that tactical, or if anybody does fall, that means they'll be able to come back quite quickly. However, they fall to the swing, that horizontal flick from the roller. Drexel doing everything they can to hold on to the zone, but it looks like it might be too little too late as Deathroll comes all the way back.
Yeah, Deathroll here doing a good job at not only taking both of the zones to try and come back, they at least have one of the zones fully painted, but they're also making sure that they try and hold that upper mid area. Ontos was there, and their teammate, I think that was Oculus there, tried to follow up support for the top of the mid area. However, Drexel was able to kind of recognize that they needed to push in and at least paint the zone. They kind of collapsed around mid, and out they have pushed Deathroll out of mid completely. They're pushed up together here and making sure that with the specials that they have ready too, they're going to be able to try and use these to keep guarding the zone best they can.
And gosh, for a weapon like Grace is running with Splattershot Jr., it's so low range that you kind of have to play risky with it in that you're having to play on top of the zone almost in order to paint it. So if somebody is shooting at you, they're also shooting at the zone. So it's a double-edged sword of, yes, you're in your range where you can contend, but you're also allowing the enemy to both paint the objective as well as take shots at you. So it's a very difficult playstyle to get good at, but it can be a very good weapon and builds up that big bubbler, which you mentioned how scary it is, super quickly. They're able to use the Booyah Bomb as well. Grace using that to try and push forward, ends up using the big bubbler in front of the spawn. This sort of small ramp is where it can be the most easy to get out of your spawn. So Deathroll having to do a bunch there to try and get out. They do expend once again the 10 missiles. Gillies is able to get that pick onto Onto, seeing if they can jump to one of their teammates, and they will. It's right in enemy territory, but they get not just one, but two, looking for the second. They only get a partial shot. They'll clean up the triple there, and they'll celebrate it with yet another jump. You want to talk about difficult play styles. Jumping and having that effect as a roller can be pretty difficult to master, as Drexel is well in control.
Oh my gosh, that was so impressive, and that's another one of the things in Splatoon 3 I think has been really kind of prevalent in the meta. It's not a weapon itself, it's that play style of making sure that you can jump to your teammate really fast and try and make things happen if you need to, or knowing when to jump back and play off of it that way. That's exactly what we saw from Billy's perspective. Not only were they able to utilize their main weapon, but they were able to utilize the aggressive jump in, but then also safely jump back. Not all the way to spawn, but jump back to their teammate there just a few feet behind them. That's been really, really prevalent in the meta right now, and that was a great representation of that too.
New specials online from the side of Drexel. Deathroll already using their tactical right in the top of mid here. Onto seeing if they can lock down control of the zone on the right-hand side here, but they're being beset upon by multiple sides. We hear the Booyah Bomb coming out. They're able to get two that group up. The effective, I think, 70 damage of that slosher, hitting multiple in a row, tic-tac-toe, and that's going to help force a 3-down situation that with 40 seconds remaining is going to give Deathroll a real fighting shot to come back.
Yeah, Deathroll here, they're set up nicely. They're using these missiles, and the missiles actually, it looks like they were able to take down Gillies on that roller paired with that. There's 3 members down. Now it's just Grace left alive on this junior, having to bubble for themselves to make sure that they stay alive and try and hold as much space as they possibly can for their teammates coming back from spawn. But with a rapid blaster poking at you, bombs being thrown at you, you really have to make sure that you're playing carefully. Stubert there on that rapid blaster, able to do a great job at guarding that top left area. This could be it as we're going to head into overtime. Let's see if Deathroll is able to keep holding this down. They're able to not only take down that bubble there together, take down these jump-ins and keep hitting the zone, but they just need one more point if they want to secure the lead. This is so close. They're able to finally paint that as Turple there was trying to rush in and paint that left zone. There were no members there. Not quite able to. And man, they're able to secure that lead from Deathroll there at the last possible second.
Oh my goodness. What an absolutely crazy sequence of events. There are multiple moments I can pick out there where if that doesn't happen, we don't get both the retake of the lead in overtime, and we also don't even maybe get to overtime as a result. Deathroll was pretty far behind in terms of the amount of penalty points that they had to pick up. We had the splat bomb that was able to get 2 right on that ramp that allows the push to continue, where before there might have been some resistance from the side of the Drexel Dragons. But Death Roll, a never say die attitude once again comes into play as they were able to lock it down. I think Drexel, we were spectating the snipe rider there at the end. If they had been able to charge that up any quicker, maybe we would have seen it stopped once again at 9, which as a tie would have gone back up to 10 with the team that holds the lead, retaining the lower score there. But so back and forth. If that is any semblance of what we're going to see through this set, I'm so excited to see the remainder of these finales, and also whether it goes to that game 5. Just the triple from Gillies, the double with the 1 shot of the slosher, the double with the 1 splat bomb. Too many impressive moments to name, Rissa.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really, really, really fun set to see here in Grand Finals, I feel like. Oh my gosh. You said it perfectly. So many good moments there that we got to witness and that were happening around. And it was like just so fast paced, but so coordinated at the same time from, especially from Drexel there for a while. But suddenly, once Death Roll had their momentum going, it took a turn and they did a great job there at the end. It seemed like once they were able to get that Rapid Blaster set up safely, they were able to make things happen, and with doing that, that worked out really well for them. Now, you know, with Drexel having a roller, I think that's going to be a little bit difficult for them to keep setting up that Rapid Blaster in particular, but maybe if they know now, as they went into that first game, they know that they need to make sure that they're watching the Rapid Blaster player, making sure they're watching where that roller is, they can, you know, maybe turn it around here now that they have a download on the other team.
And that's one of the more interesting sort of player v player matchups I'm looking at, is the roller with the big bubbler and then the junior with the big bubbler. That really was interesting and came into play quite a bit. We had one ideology where you're really saving it for that top middle portion in between the 2 zones, and that is where you're going to lock things down. And then the other where you're using it right in front of where they would filter through spawn. So the more offensive versus the more objective-minded play. Let's see if that sticks around. Looks like a swap over to the Carbon Deco instead. So we're not going to have that second big bubbler, or at least the one on the side of Death Roll. However, we are going to see the return of the Splattershot Junior, as well as basically every other weapon on the side of Drexel.
Yeah, we are going to see, you know, Drexel, they did have that one weapon sort of like you said, but it seems like on the side of Death Roll, they kind of consistently, okay, double there happening. Is Death Roll getting their momentum? You can see they're pairing up nicely, having those team fights happen. But yeah, I was going to say Death Roll, they seem like they're kind of consistently staying with the same weapons, you know, throughout the sets that we've seen. So it seems like they're pretty comfortable with the weapons they've been playing.
Marissa, I've just seen more random doubles in this set, and it's only game 1.25 that I can count. I've never seen something like this. It's insane. We do see Death Roll not waiting this time. They are just super hard pushing the tower. They're almost all the way to 50. They're in a 3v2 situation right now. Gilly's playing a little bit of a different strategy, but, you know, basically they're sharking around and waiting to see who they can get the sort of big combo, that sort of burst and flick combo that the Carbon Deco is either famous or infamous for, depending on your feelings about the weapon. Max Mix, we haven't talked about a ton, but piloting a very strong weapon. They are going to go down there unable to use their Booyah Bomb or wait for the right opportunity to strike. And now Onto's going to help to throw those price strikes out, not just to get map control, but also to take down that big bubbler, which again, we're only seeing on just the one side. Drexel going 3 down, and Death Roll looking firmly in control of game number 2 so far.
They are there, even though they have 2 members down right now. It seems like, oh, okay. As we're talking about them, suddenly, you know, Neo gets taken out there by Azuka, but Antos is still alive here, and they actually have not jumped back or pushed back too far. They're staying in mid, and they're staying to maybe Shark, maybe get a play off of that Shark, maybe just try and hold space for their teammates with these bombs like we're seeing as well. But I was also looking too, Death Roll actually has 2 tri-strikes this time around, so looks like they're really going to be trying to play off of shutting down Drexel with those tri-strikes consistently.
Yeah, that is the return of the commentator's curse. We had a brief shining moment where it was a commentator's prediction, and now we're back to just cursing things again. But not cursing. Their current fortune is Drexel, who is able to get their first push of the game. They do survive purple despite the tri-strikes, able to just barely survive, tucked into a corner there. And this is exactly who you want remaining on the tower, taking down 3 of the 4 members of Death Roll. So this should allow them to get 2 and maybe pass this second checkpoint. They'll have the benefit of the tactical as well as Deathroll scrambling to set up in the right position. There's the lead. There's the big bubbler. Now Turple looking to see if anybody's going around. They actually get off the tower to see if they can tap shot away onto us, and they do, helped by them having to go away from the Booyah Bomb. And now down to 18, and for that final checkpoint is Drexel, who clears it. Will not have to worry about it for the rest of the game. So even if this push falls apart at 10, that is both a huge lead and also 0 checkpoints you have to worry about in the future.
Man, if you're Deathroll right now, you gotta make sure that you don't let that mental get to you. I feel like for me, you know, knowing that the other team got all the way to that second checkpoint might slow me down mentally, even though I'm like, okay, this shouldn't slow me down, no. But Deathroll here, looks like they're not letting that get to them. They're pushed forward, they're able to take down that carbon roller and push forward at that, so they're not letting go, trying not to let go of any space that they can. They're not really trying to let Drexels come into mid. Drexel, however, they're set up pretty nicely here. I love how Turple keeps going up on these top, I don't know what you call that area. As there it was the top left, and then on the other side when they start pushing, it's up in that top upper right area, being able to play aggressively like that. So now, as this has swapped, Drexel now in control of mid. They're going to start pushing that tower again, and like you said, they have that second checkpoint, so if they're able to push the tower, they could potentially KO this.
Well, Turple, I think, is benefiting a lot from the positioning and coverage, the map control that Drexel was able to create, because they've been able to dodge not just the 10 missiles, which was a bit unfortunate. They were already 2 down. The 10 missiles comes out. They go 3 down as a result, and they don't get to make great use of that special. But also some of the tri-strikes that are coming through, all they basically have to do is walk backwards. They're not being in a position where they're against a wall or they're backed into a corner very often, except for earlier in the game. They've had their team create, better positioning for them, which allows them to use that exceptional range and also build up the tactical. Grace not as lucky. They are going to go down to one of the tri-strikes thrown out by Deathroll here, and Nia still holding on to theirs, so looking to perhaps layer them through as Nia's will finally come out. It's going to go onto the tower and help to reclaim some control of mid. Now, finally, with 15 seconds left, Deathroll feeling comfortable enough with their control status in mid to get atop the tower. You can see the Slosher playing very aggressively. They'll go down as a result. That's going to be 1, now 2 members down for what will potentially be an overtime push. They get it to overtime, but they lose another member to a well-placed Booyah Bomb. And Drexel, despite some early relention of the lead there, doing a great job of coming back and tying this set at 1.
They did a really, really good job there. It seemed like they set up around the tower. They kind of almost let Deathroll get on the tower, and they kind of let them start pushing the tower. And they knew that, okay, we have the snipe rider on our top right area. We have other members of our team in our area in front of that, just guarding around where the tower path is. And as soon as they got that GG Booyah Bomb and they had the guards set up around the tower, they utilized that, played around that very nicely, and just solidified that win there at the end.
I almost dislike the fact, and this is not competitively relevant for any reason, but you saw all of Drexel had the same victory pose of waving their arms and hands in the air, but they were out of sync. It kind of irked me that they were like all out of order. I kind of wanted it to be like when you put several metronomes in a line or like together and eventually they all like sync up at the same time. I wanted them to eventually get to where they're waving their hands like in unison together and not out of order. Again, not at all relevant to the actual tournament that we're watching, but I do love when a team comes together and coordinates their victory pose. But more akin to what they're actually doing on the battlefield, Drexel doing a great job, especially in the final 2.5 to 3 minutes of coming forward here, making a lot of great space for their anchor player, which is exactly how you want them to play. That allows them to get those tacticals online early and often. And, you mentioned the double tri-strike that Deathroll was coming out with and playing off of very aggressively, not using it at the same time. They're using it basically one after the other, which, while it does have its benefits, does allow for the members of Drexel Dragons to sort of adapt and swim away and then come back to that same position, reclaim that paint, and then all that work and half the specials of Deathroll is all for naught there. So that allows, for when you do make a push, that's 2 specials that you don't have to worry about on the side of Drexel, if you can almost bait them out early and make sure that they're not usable for when you're pushing the tower.
Yeah, it almost seemed like I was thinking it in the back of my head while I was talking mid-commentating. And I was thinking about how it almost seemed like they maybe, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it almost seemed like maybe you would go double tri-strike for the other team playing in that first match double bubble. So utilizing one player to use their tri-strikes to shut down one of the bubbles or both of the bubbles, and then the other player who has the tri-strikes being able to utilize that for push or defense itself. So that was my thought initially, and I saw that a couple times where when Grace would bubble, suddenly a tri-strike would come out and shut down that bubble completely. So as we head into game 3 on Manta Maria here, looking at these comps as well, we're seeing actually Turple switching over to Splatling this time. Haven't seen that yet in the tournament either, so they're going to be utilizing that for their cooler weapon. And then on the other side for Death Roll, switching over to NZAP actually. They're switching from that Rapid Blaster over to the NZAP. Haven't seen an NZAP played yet either on stream today.
Yeah, a completely new Cooler v Cooler matchup. Those are the main headlines for the weapon changes as we see Ontos get trapped in a sea of green. There are those tri-strikes that we're familiar with from Death Roll as they lock down this kind of unusually large middle area in what looks like a pretty locked down map. Nia trying to take the leap of faith on their right, our left-hand side, but Purple using the built-up charge of that heavy edit to block them down. They're going to get a parting shot onto that member of Death Roll that was just absolutely taken out by the Trizuka there. They're very close now to that Tacticooler, and this is looking like a good start here for Drexel Dragons, who just has a little bit of points to get in order to reclaim that lead.
Yeah, they have a few more points to get the lead, and they also are starting to have that mid control too. So as their Carbon Roller unfortunately does go down, as they were trying to be aggressive, it looks like Purple here, that anchor player for Drexel, is acting as that anchor, gets that jump in for Gillies, and they are right back in the action here. Okay, it's looking a little scrappy though. As I was like, okay, they're back. Wait, mid is green. Wait, mid is pink. There's a lot happening here. Finally though, Drexel in control of that Rainmaker, and like you said, only has a few points to get.
I'm a little surprised, honestly, that Drexel is the team that banned Flounder Heights, because I would think you would want your Carbon Deco player playing on a map like this one that we're seeing now that has this element of verticality that you can just sort of fly down and hit somebody with that combo. Turple just barely not able to make it on top of the pedestal. So we have yet still to see a team today as Death Roll forces a 3-down situation to break through that first checkpoint. Nice retaliation there by Ontos, who I think was getting beat up a little bit before that point. Now retaliating on this slosher, able to make good use of their special and allow for said first break of the checkpoint as it goes to Death Roll. They do claim the lead. They have the Tacticooler online. They forced a 3-down situation. Everything going their way, Rissa.
Yeah, Ontos here grabs that Rainmaker and is getting more points on the board. They're able to turn around and recognize that flank coming out from the roller and completely shut that down paired with their teammate. And this is that tricky snowball situation of Rainmaker Manta Maria, where if you are not careful past that first checkpoint in this exact spot, it can just get so snowbally. You have to make sure you're constantly watching that Rainmaker as Nia grabs that Rainmaker again. We're just having to see Purple here in this upward angle, constantly guarding this and trying to create time and space for their teammates to come back in. Finally, Drexel's here, able to grab the Rainmaker, and they're not going to let it sit there. Looks like they're just grabbing it to make sure no one sneaks through and grabs that Rainmaker. And they're at least able to get it out of their spawn in the midst of all that chaos.
It feels like it's been brewing forever. We've seen moments of greatness, minutes upon minutes of great plays made by Death Roll, and it hadn't worked out in Game 2. Now looking to see if it plays out fully in Game 3, as Drexel is officially going to need a knockout in order to win this one with a minute 40 left. Max Mix seeing if they can get some shots there on Tania, just out of range and just staying behind their point of view or their vision. The Booyah Bomb is online, and this high ground is where ideally you want to be layering that down. The tri-strike is going to come out. If you are being set upon like they are now, that could be an opportunity to use it. But they are showing a lot of patience, a lot of restraint here, holding it down in tandem with the big bubbler and the Tacticooler being online. Maybe that called out by their team not wanting to use too many specials at a time, especially when you don't have that Rainmaker locked down. Drexel doesn't have that first checkpoint yet, so they may want to use it to try and throw it either to the person right under them or to the checkpoint. They are going to opt for the former, but unfortunately losing too many resources there. And with just under a minute left to go, Death Roll still holding strong.
Death Roll still holding strong, able to grab that Rainmaker again. So even though they have this insanely good lead, that's essentially a complete knockout as their score is all the way down to 1. They know that the longer that they hold on to the Rainmaker, the more difficult it's going to be for Drexel to even get the Rainmaker for themselves. So Drexel is just going to have to be constantly in this position where they're climbing a mountain to get to the Rainmaker. They're trying to not only stop the Rainmaker, but they know that they need to grab the Rainmaker for themselves as well.
Purple getting down another one of these Practic Coolers. They're not able to get on top of the grates. They're missing a couple of jumps there, which is so unfortunate. Stubert, I like the placement, and they like the shots too, as they get 2 in a row there with the Rainmaker, not even needing this, just holding them back as Drexel, having to climb these walls, has no way to get to them. You can see on the left, just out of range is the heavy edit. Not enough time to get closer or build up any shots. So Death Roll, as you mentioned, with an effective knockout, that reclaims the lead at 2-1 and puts them 1 game away from winning our silver bracket of this CCA 5-year anniversary.
Ooh, man, that was it was a really good turnaround from Death Roll. I feel like they finally, you know, it's always kind of that moment. I'm like, okay, are they getting their momentum? Are they getting the download on the other team, Drexel in this case? You know, was it just that map and mode in particular? Was it maybe the weapon switch up as well? Like, part of me is like, okay, they switched to NZAP instead of that Rapid Blaster as their cooler weapon. I'm like, was having that additional mobility and paint really helpful for them? You know, there's so many things here that really could be the highlight of what made that so strong for them in that game.
And these feel like teams and compositions that are tailoring their changes more so around the map and mode that they're going to, because it is known. It's not something like counterpicking where you only have, you know, you can set up the counter pick if you're the losing team, and then the winning team only has that 90 seconds or so to kind of set up and decide what they're going to do. It feels like it's more so based around that map and mode sort of objective versus making changes to whatever the enemy team is bringing. So they are able to adapt in the moment. They are able to find ways to overcome their opponents while they're actually playing the game. But I think a lot of the premeditation goes into focusing on the map and mode, and a little less so, I won't say completely zero, but maybe just a bit less so around their opponent. And it is back and forth. I love seeing how close these two teams are in this final setting, especially considering both of these teams swept their previous opponents in the semifinals, sending them to what's currently an ongoing 3rd place matchup here. But we're waiting to see what the comps are going to be. It will be our one and only Rainmaker game here in these grand finals for the silver bracket, and we'll be going over to Scorched Gorge as we get ready for this one. Actually, for Lamblitz, I believe it says Rainmaker. I'm not sure if that's an error on the side of the map list or on whoever selected the map and mode in the lobby.
Let's see if the teams, I'm not totally sure either, honestly. Looks like the teams are going to go ahead and keep playing this, so I
Looks like it is Lamblitz, yep.
Okay, perfect. So they are going to be playing this, and as we take a look at these comps too, Rapid Blaster coming back out from Death Roll, and then on the other side, we're seeing Purple come back with that pencil. So we are returning to our respective cooler weapons that these teams have been running initially. And as we get to take a look here and see how these teams are going to set up, it looks like initially the map is very purple as Drexel is in control of mid, but both teams, I like that both teams have gathered a lot of claims and they're really trying to set themselves up for a successful first push.
Yeah, neither team, last time we saw this map and mode going this sort of way of 1,000 cuts, they're more so trying to build up as much as they can. Gillies with a great splat. They're immediately pulling out the Trizuka, not waiting for a push to happen. Death Roll trying desperately to hang on to the one power clam that they've built. Drexel on the opposite hand is able to break the basket first brace, going back to allow the jump in to occur. So there's not going to be too much follow-up, at least immediately. Both teams kind of dancing around this all middle obstacle and seeing if they can retain any sort of map control, especially for Gillies, who was trapped there. Death Roll able to track them down. And for both teams, Versa, I feel like the comps that they brought today are kind of the hallmarks of the strategies that they like to employ.
Totally, yeah, totally. Each of these teams are really, you know, playing to the weapons that they have and the specials that they have and really utilizing them in the exact way that you think they would, you know. On Death Roll's side, they're playing really, you know, almost aggressively. They're playing kind of scrappy. They're making sure that they just play aggressively and really play off of, you know, the picks that they're getting. But then on the other side, Drexel is kind of set up to be a little bit more supporty and really almost trying to set up support for just that roller, really. If they can get that roller set up and get the map control that they need with the paint heavy weapons that they have, they can really make things happen that way. So both teams really having a different type of play style with the weapons that they have, and we're seeing each of them utilize them, I think, firsthand here as good examples of those play styles.
Well, and what we just saw 5 or 10 seconds ago is more so what I envisioned when we see a double tri-strike composition, where you're sort of layering them in a space where it can be very difficult to get away. They're backed into these grates, and that makes it so difficult to get out. You have to kind of slip through the grates if anything is your only way to escape, and that's why we saw some splats occur as a result. Now Death Roll with 12-13 on the board. They do lose a member, but they've gotten 3 picks. Max Mix, the last line of defense, they get one, but it's not the right one, as Death Roll able to break that barricade, take the lead, and take down Gillies too.
Yeah, we're seeing Stubert here under the basket, getting another clam to make sure that they're stalling it, stalling the basket being opened up, gets a jump in too. Their teammate had a power clam, was able to successfully get that jump in, score in that power clam, and not only all of that I just mentioned, but also get a cooler out as well. So even though their teammates didn't really go down there initially, even though they were cold, finally the members are going down, and that cooler is going to come into play so nicely. Those teammates from Death Roll are going to be coming right back into the action and being able to continue the momentum that they had from that push fast.
These surprise bombs keep on surprising the ones who should be doing the surprising. This flat bomb taking out, I think Gillies there on that carbon deco that they've been running basically since after game 1. Death Roll going to have another chance at it as they get the power clam through. That's going to take down almost all of their penalty, but with the big bubbler on defense, the Booyah Bomb locking down this ramp and nobody in a position to flank on the left-hand side, that's all that Death Roll is going to be able to get out of this, is effectively 10 points as their penalty goes from 26 down to 16. But how much did it cost to give that up as Drexel playing catch with each other, throwing that power clam around, and just as quickly as they were on defense, they're sporting some offense now, and they don't have any penalty points to worry about as of now. 3 down on the side of Death Roll. It's just going to be the Rapid trying to come back. An early and easy lead there taken by Drexel. Max Mix trying to lock down the left-hand side of that push with the Splatana Stamper, and 2 members that were coming back as reinforcements for Death Roll are already down. 1 member avoiding the objective entirely. Stubert seeing if they could take a cheeky flank, and they're stopped by Grace. And now Drexel with plenty of time to go back and get the remaining clams. 2-1-0. That's going to do it as Drexel comes roaring back in game number 4. And that's going to force for us a game 5 in this best of 5 between these 2 hotly contested teams.
My gosh, that was crazy. This really, like, if you think of 2 teams that are going to go to a game 5, it's absolutely these 2 teams, and we're seeing that happen. I thought that too, and I saw that each team went 3-0 in their last sets. I was like, okay, these are teams that I could absolutely see going to a game 5. They're evenly matched. They have different play styles like we've talked about, but the thing is that once they're able to get those play styles going and utilize that against the other team, they're really able to make things happen. And there at the end too, we got to see from Grace's point of view on that junior, they were able, I'm sure the call outs there were in VC were just like so clear. Grace, you know, able to yell, okay, you guys hold down space, I'm gonna go back and get clams, and they were able to keep doing that to stall the basket open, and then their teammates just followed up there too as they were coming back, got in the additional clams there to end up completely KOing that, and that was a very fast and strong ending there, I think, from Drexel.
Well, you mentioned even teams, even matchups. How about an even map mode combination for us to end things out on? Game 5 takes us to tower control on a Hagglefish Market. We saw kind of the unusual pairing in game number 2 of tower control and Museum de Alfonsino, something that you don't see all the time in competitive play. This one is pretty bog standard for a tournament setting. It's going to be tower control Hagglefish, something that we've spoken about earlier in the set. You have that more difficult first checkpoint, and then it really opens up if you're able to get to checkpoints 2 and 3. It comes down to, if it gets to that point, how well can you secure your pretty wide open spawn area, that sort of court that allows you a lot of maneuverability but allows your enemies that same amount of sight lines. Death Roll maybe could play to their strengths as they run more of a mid to long range composition, but I think if I remember correctly, Drexel was the team that won game 2 on tower control. So some disputing factors here, waging war to see who's going to take game 5, Rissa. It all comes down to this.
It all comes down to this. Is Death Roll on that more mid-range aggressive comp going to be able to get the upper hand here and get the win? Or is Drexel on that more supporting that, aggressive roller type, play style going to be able to be the team instead that gets the upper hand? We'll go ahead and wait and see. As we'll take a look at both of the comps too. Both teams running same things that we've been seeing from them. They know what weapons they want to play. They know what they're comfortable with, and they know how to play around each other. So they are sticking with the weapons that we've been seeing from them previously.
Yeah, to look out for on the side of Drexel, that EG Booyah Bomb again with the stickers, Splatana Stamper, as well as the big bubbler coming out from the junior. We see Max is able to get the Booyah Bomb out. It's not a GG for anyone but them at that point as they went down. Gilly's getting some high ground to see if they can get a pick with their Trizuka. Not finding anybody. The members of Death Roll kind of scrambling here all the while. Drexel able to get that first checkpoint pretty cleanly, getting through where that alleyway is and not even using the big bubbler on the zone. It is all Drexel's way early in game 5.
Yeah, Drexel here is very, very dominant. They're getting through that checkpoint. They're pushed up in this top right area. And it's Grace actually on the junior acting very aggressively and utilizing the mobility of that weapon. Purple, they're still on the tower. They only have 15 points remaining here if they want to actually end up completely KOing this with multiple members on the tower from Drexel. I didn't even get to blink. And they ended up completely KOing that in game 5.
How ironic that the most one-sided, lopsided event in this grand finals is the last game of the set. Everything finally giving out under Death Roll's way as Drexel steamrolls through them to take game 5 and to win the silver bracket of this CCA 5-year anniversary invitational. Such a great display, though, of talent from both of these sides, new and old. Of course, this is spanning teams from the entire 5-year history of CCA. So you have some teams that have not played together in a while, that have not been a dedicated squad in years, and others that have been playing together much more recently. We love to see that all come together and see what that ends up doing for CCA, which has a great history of hosting these collegiate and university Splatoon events. For both of these teams, could have gone either way. Super fun back and forth. I love sort of the dynamic you were talking about, Rissa, between, okay, we have a more mid to long range composition. Their sort of way to win is to keep the members of Drexel outside of their effective range and into death rolls. And on the opposite side for Drexel, they did such a great job of using their specials at the right time. They had the Booyah Bomb, they had the Big Bubbler, they waited to use those at the perfect time. The first usage of the Big Bubbler, not even on the tower. It's on the ramp leading down to where the tower is, so that cuts off one area that you could play that gets anywhere near, and even with its sort of height, blocks off any of the shots despite the range that you have. And then, of course, the Booyah Bomb preventing anybody from really even getting close to the tower with those final 10 or so points remaining. Super emphatic and super fun game 5 for Drexel. Have to congratulate them on a great set victory.
Yes, absolutely. You said everything there perfectly. And it really, really came into play there and played out beautifully for Drexel. I mean, that entire set, though, was super fun to watch from both sides and seeing how each team was adapting to playing the different maps and modes, to playing versus each other, and just watching them, kind of hash that out throughout that entire set. I also wanted to highlight, too, looking at the silver bracket here as we are finishing this up, the third place match was WPI Grizz Workers Union versus Triton Splatoon, and WPI Grizz Workers Union actually ended up winning that set 3-0. So definitely something as well to highlight as we finish this up here. A lot of fun Splatoon here that we got to watch today.
Well, Rissa, that's going to do it for the tournament. There is one more thing we want to look at. We'll take a look at that as we wind down, but super fun casting with you as always. I really, really love it, mainly because you feel like, you are so strong whenever I am flubbing or say something incorrectly. I feel like you always come back with something super poignant, super informational, and super great to bounce off of. So super, super fun and always a pleasure. Where can the people find you if they want to check more of you out?
They can find me at Rissa High on X and Blue Sky and Twitch. And also I want to say Spider-Man meme pointing at you because you do the same exact thing for me. So that's why I love commentating with you. So that was a wonderful, entire tournament there for the silver to commentate with you. I had a great time. Zach, really quick here before we sign off, where can they find you at?
I'm at Shiny Hunter Zach on both X and Blue Sky. I'm also going to be on youtube.com/twidio. It's with 3 O's. I'm going to be doing some Splatfest later today from around 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central. So if you want to see me be absolutely horrendous at the game that I claim to cast, you can come over there and check it out. But that is going to do it for the tournament side of things for the CCA 5-year anniversary invitational. However, there's going to be a bit more going on later this summer, and we have a little bit of a video package to share with you. That's going to do it for us. Let's send it away by checking out this teaser.